All right, hello and welcome everyone to this our new stream. We are I'm a little high. There we go. Boom. There we go. I was a little too high up in the screen. Welcome everyone to another episode of Knights of the Last Call. My name is Derek Melinda. Welcome to the live stream. And tonight we're going to be covering more archetypes. I was a little, what should we say? I was a little optimistic last time and said that we were going to do A through D. We got through A through B. To be fair, there were a lot of A's and B's, far more than I expected there to be. And most importantly, of course, we ended up spending a lot of time talking about some of the archetypes, archetype philosophy, and all that jazz. So, we're gonna we're gonna try to make it through today. I was a little bit more conservative today, and I said we were gonna get through 3 letters: C, D, and E. I already see Trevco is saying, "What is the over/under that we get past D?"
Hey, $3. I watched the VODs of all the ranking videos. Might as well compensate you for the hours and hours of content.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very, 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 very much. That is very, very, very generous of you. Appreciate the tip very much. Yeah, I mean, we have put in a lot of work on these live streams, and it's really nice and very awesome that you're willing to give us that support. So appreciate that. You'll see that tonight's goals are about free archetype, and we were discussing this recently on the Patreon Discord, and basically, obviously, show your support however you'd like to. Super chats are obviously very easy, and they're right there in the thing. But you can also go into the doobly-doo below. You'll see a link to our Stream Elements page. You can also type !tip in the chat, and the Stream Elements bot will give you a link to our Stream Elements tip page. And then you can give us a Stream Elements tip if you want to say that yes, the free archetype does make you more powerful. Both are fantastic ways to support the channel, but the absolute best way to support the channel, the way that this stream is even happening today, is through our Patreon. Link is in the description below, patreon.com/Knights of Last Call. The patrons of the Knights of Last Call community are what allow us to do these live streams. We're putting out over 40 hours of live stream content a month, and that is due to the largesse, the support, the noblesse oblige of our patrons who support us and allow us to do all this stuff and turn this kind of dinky little hobby into something that we can actually put some time and money and effort into, and we really appreciate them. So again, I just want to say thank you to our patrons. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I think we're going to get into it. Real quick, we got a couple of our YouTube adventurers in the house. We've got Damian Williams rocking his red badge. Damian has been a supporter of the YouTube Adventurers League for over 6 months, so thank you, welcome. Bob is here, of course, and you'll know Bob from our channel, but Bob can't help himself. He's got to get those sweet, sweet custom emojis that only an adventurer can get. So welcome to you too. I don't know if I've seen anybody else. And I also obviously have a number of people here from our Discord. Welcome everyone. Ladies, gentlemen, folks, let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so last time, here is where we were. We kind of had 2 broad categories. Archetypes that are about mechanics and archetypes that are about flavor. And, there's a little bit of a gray line there, we'll admit, but I think one of the things that we really have to consider when we rate these archetypes is that some of these archetypes are not about increasing the mechanical capability of your character within the Pathfinder 2 rules. It's still a Pathfinder 2 archetype, which means it's going to have game mechanics, but we can't really rate them on the same basis. If it is really more for, increasing the simulation of your character within the sort of world of Golarion, or if it's to really, really amp up something that the traditional role of the adventurer, dungeon crawler, monster slayer, which is kind of what most of the rules and most of the classes are built around, that's probably more of a flavor option. On the other hand, mechanics, those are the sort of bread and butter archetypes that are really about enabling or increasing or supplementing your mechanical ability within the game to either specialize in something that the game already does. Like, for example, Dual Weapon Warrior, which we'll get to tonight, is an archetype that's really just all in on dual wielding in a way that perhaps other classes can dual wield, but this archetype is just super, super specialized into it. Or it is very, very precise. And it kind of offers up new abilities, new mechanical abilities, which enable you to sort of fill that role better than you would otherwise be able to do through the combination of existing classes in the game. All right? So, everybody on board with that? Lastly, S, A, B, C, D, F. These are our tier rankings. A C ranking indicates that this is a totally satisfactory archetype. It isn't particularly fun or flavorful, but it is very, very effective. It works. It gets the job done, right? Hey, we got a super chat. Awesome. From Cybersmith. Cybersmith says, question about mechanical grading. If an archetype has diplomatic bonuses, which allow the party to avoid combat, isn't that mechanically equivalent to winning a fight with 0 damage and full slots? Cybersmith, I think that if a character ability has, or I should say an archetype, diplomacy does not have that. Mechanics does not mean combat. Mechanics does not mean combat. There are elements to the game. Combat is a big, important one. We've said this before. I don't think it is the only pillar of play in Pathfinder 2, but for most parties, most adventure paths, most adventures, combat, and certainly it's the thing that takes up the most time at your table, just because those encounters tend to run really long. That tends to be where the majority of the focus is, but it's not the only focus. There are plenty of opportunities from a dungeon crawling campaign to a murder mystery. All of these things require different types of skills and abilities, including things like diplomacy. So just because something is diplomatic bonus does not necessarily mean it is automatically going to be considered a flavor category. But thank you very much for the £10. Appreciate that, and I think that's pounds. Yeah. Can't tell. Yeah, that's my kind of ranking on it. And again, a C is totally fine. It'll work. It's great. If I give an archetype a C, it's because I think it works in the game. It's probably just not particularly, it's a little bland. It's cheese pizza. It's oatmeal. It's a fine. It's food. It's not bad. It's just it doesn't have a lot of zing or zest, and it's not something you're probably going to get really excited about. B's and A's, on the other hand, are exciting. And A's, to me, are what we should aspire to. A's are a combination of kind of feeling a little, I don't want to say broken, but you're starting to feel like you're getting away with something. You're starting to feel that mechanical edge that really makes you feel happy that you chose that, archetype. But at the same time, it's also oozing with coolness and flavor, and it's just got a lot of fun to it. And so, that is where mechanics, A is. An S is problematic. It's probably too powerful, if anything.
Rick has tipped $25. Support for the channel.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you very much, Rick. I don't know why the Stream Elements bot isn't putting the tips in the chat, but at least it's still popping up. But thank you, Rick, for the 25. Rick reclaims his hype boss status and makes sure he cements it. So Rick is back up to 54 hit points. You'll see that Rick, a lot of times Rick is our current and operating hype boss. Rick, you and I, we got to work something out, buddy. We got to figure something out so that we can reward you for being the hype boss all the time. But we appreciate your support. Thank you again so much. It means a lot to us. So S, they're very powerful, probably problematically so. If you look at a lot of quote-unquote broken builds, car op builds, min-max builds, you're gonna start to see these archetypes pop up. And, that's just because they give a lot of bang for their buck. They give you a lot of compelling mechanical options, which are quite powerful in the way that most people play Pathfinder 2. And while I'm not trying to say that they should be nerfed, they're probably too good, given, I mean, maybe in a world where everything else was just better, they'd be fine, but that's not the world we live in. A D is an option that you can choose. I just don't think it's particularly exciting, or that the mechanics are really there to support it. It's an underwhelming choice. It works, it's fine, but it's underwhelming. An F is something that I actively dislike. Does it function? Of course, it's Pathfinder 2. They're not going to put something in there that's legitimately broken. I mean, maybe there's some random ability. Someone says, according to the rules, splash damage doesn't work officially. But to me, an F class, like if you look at our F mechanics, we have Magus and Summoner. It seemed to me, it seemed to the chat, that they really didn't figure out how to put in that system of sort of condensed casting, and the abilities you get from it are very, very, very weak. The Magus essentially doesn't even really get a spell strike, so being a Magus archetype is not even going to feel like you are an archetype, so, or a Magus, I should say. So that is why we have the F. All right. So let's get into let's get into the start here. We've got the Captivator. Ooh, big Captivator. Others find you inherently fascinating. Maybe you're a YouTuber. You have a faculty with words that draw others in, and if you've always found it easy to sway people to your point of view. This ability has grown to the point where you are now capable of innate magic. Again, really selling home that point that in Galarian, magic is far from rare. In fact, you don't even necessarily have to formally go to school or train as a wizard or have some sort of innate bloodline from some distant magical ancestor. No, you could just be really good at talking to people, and eventually you're just going to have the ability to cast magic. So, hey, we got a super chat from Self-Confessed Cynic coming in on $5 Australian. $5 sounds good. I think the mic no longer being in the way is worth the difference in audio. We're also hearing more of your gestures. Yeah, so what Self-Confessed Cynic is talking about is today, you'll notice, I'm not on my Shure SM7B today. Instead, I am trying out a shotgun microphone, and which is mounted right here out of just a teensy bit into frame. But the reason why we were doing that is because I am trying out shotgun microphones for our studio. Because when we build and finalize our final studio, rather than having big microphones in everyone's face, and just kind of distracting everybody at the table, we're going to be mounting a bunch of these shotgun microphones over the top of the table so that we can, we can still be heard, but feel more connected and more into the game. So I bought one, I'm trying it out, and we're going to see how it goes. But this is the first time that we have it set up. So Self-Confessed Cynic and Ben from the Discord helped me do a little bit of audio testing. Ben gave me some EQ settings, and we're trying out. So this is demo 1, live 1, and I'm sure I'm going to listen back to it, and we'll probably make some tweaks and add some additional maybe compressors, or does change some EQ. But yeah. I wonder why shotgun microphones are called that. I think it's just because they're just long. They look like a shotgun, like, it's kind of long, and, as opposed to like a normal microphone. So anyways, moving on. Thank you, Self-Confessed Cynic. Appreciate it. But most specifically, a microphone like this is designed to pick up a tighter pattern of sound. It can be further away from you. Like when I work with my Shure SM7B, that I tend to keep it like right here, like within a few inches of my mouth. These kind of microphones are not very sensitive, which could be a good thing. It means that they don't pick up, every little dink and creak and sound in the room. But it also means that you need to get kind of pretty close to them. It has that sort of maybe deeper and richer sound that some people like. And these are particularly nice, I will admit, for podcasting and stuff like that, because typically there's no video and you're not as worried about that. Whereas a shotgun mic, because it has this tighter pattern and it can reject more sound. It's also a lot more sensitive. I could place this further away from me, allowing it to be outside of the shot. And, Ben is actually saying what is kind of funny, which is, yeah, shotguns, we think of it spraying, but actually shotgun microphones are picking up a closer pattern of sound. And so it is kind of funny that it's called that. Anyways, thanks, Vin. Always with a side tangent. Good point, Damien. All right, here we go. Captivator. All right, so the dedication, it's a level 4 dedication, not level 2. So you're not starting off with this. You need to have charisma, and you need to be trained in either deception or diplomacy. It seems reasonable. You get 2 cantrips. So this is basically just like spellcaster dedication, but you need to be level 4. Oh, and they have to either be from enchantment or illusion. So this seems like this is worse than a traditional spellcasting dedication. Okay. Then at level 4 as well. Yeah, I'm thinking this has to be an error. Because look, they have the basic spellcasting capabilities at 4. So I'm going to assume that this one's supposed to be 2. But even then, like, this just isn't as good as Bard dedication, right? Bard dedication gives you 2 cantrips, but they can be from anything from the occult. This gives you 2 cantrips from the occult, but they have to be enchantment or illusion. And same thing with the basic and what I'm assuming to be the expert and all this stuff, master. Yeah, it's the same thing as normal, it's just only from enchantment or illusion. So that kind of stinks. I mean, obviously it fits the theme, but you're giving up a lot of flexibility. That is a good point. At 20th level, you do learn a 9th level spell. So I don't really weight things like that too highly, but it is something. Most things past like level 15 or 16, I don't really even count because most campaigns won't even get that high. And then even if your campaign does get that high, you're only going to get to play with it for what? Like, maybe a month. Red asks, where do enchantment and illusion spells stack up on the spell school's hero list? I do not remember. I mean, I tended to give illusion spells high rankings because I did think that this was an area that Pathfinder 2 gave a lot of latitudes for silent image and still image or whatever. Some of the illusion spells, I actually thought they actually gave you a fair degree of latitude with how they operated. So I didn't mind them. All right, what else do we get? Because the spellcasting, sure, it's a little better, but it's still kind of wonky that it's limited. You get captivating intensity. You seem to never run out of the ability to fascinate or distract. This must be Vin. You can cast each occult innate spell granted to you by your archetype feats 1 additional time per day. You can do this for all spells level gains. So this is the spellcasting breadth feat, but it applies to all levels of spells, not just everything but your 2 highest levels. That's pretty compelling. And if you have heightened captivation, you can cast the chosen spell a 2nd time a day. But if you cast, this is just very fiddly. But if you cast it a 2nd time, the second time it is heightened only to 2 levels higher than the highest level that you could cast. So, for whatever reason, if you cast it that extra time, that 3rd time, it is now weaker. So it's like you don't get 3 slots, you get 2 slots and a little bit of a penalty on the 3rd slot. Very, very fiddly design there. Vin, when you moved the mic, it changed the angle, and that made a big difference. Sounds great now. Remember this spot. All right, I will remember this spot. I don't know what I changed. I mean, I just tilted it forward. I mean, this is a cool idea. This archetype is going to give you, essentially, after you take all of the spellcasting feats, you're going to get to 9th level spells. You could take Captivating Intensity, and then you could take Heightened Captivation. And Choose one of your spells granted by the Captivator archetype feats. This spell cannot be from your very highest level of non-cantrip Captivator feats. The spell you chose is heightened to the highest level of spell you can cast. You can't later change the spell that is heightened by this feat. Interesting. And then we get some experts. And then we get Reactive Charm at level 10. Only a once-a-day ability. Not a big fan of these, I'll be honest with you. Just because it's once a day. But you can cast any of your first-level enchantment spells that normally takes 2 actions or less to cast. This effect takes place before the triggering spell or effect. Thus, once again, proving that reactions are actually kind of interrupts in Pathfinder 2. If you charm the attacker and it becomes friendly for you, it can choose a different target for you. That's pretty cool ability. It's only once a day, but it's a reaction. That's pretty cool. Effortless Captivation gives you sustain a spell for free with your illusions and enchantments, but I think that mostly applies to illusions as a free action. And then Look Again, 18. Meta Magic. If your illusions and enchantments fail to ensnare the minds of others, you can cast them again. If your next action is to cast an innate enchantment or illusion spell and it fails to affect any targets, you don't lose the spell. You must use the same number of actions to recast the spell on your same turn. And if you can't or choose not to, you waste those actions. You're priced into casting that actions, which this is kind of cool. Someone said there's an interesting counter charm. Okay, here we go. A creature casts a spell from enchantment or illusion. You have an innate non-cantrip spell of the same school. So it's like a heightened or improved counter spell. Your enchantments and illusions are some dominant. You can use them to counteract. Basically, you don't need the exact same spell. But you can just need something from the same school. That's a lot of flexibility. I started off not liking this, but I think there's a lot of interesting mechanics here. I think for, someone who really wanted to lean into this sort of, kind of mind manipulating psychopath weirdo, this kind of mind controller type person, this is pretty cool. And it's an interesting way to get more powerful spells into an archetype, but by limiting what you can cast with them. In this case, illusions and enchantments. I like this class. I think this is, or this archetype. I think this is better than C. I think it's less than A. I don't know. Maybe it is an A. I was gonna say it's for me. It's between an A or a B. Let me know in chat. What do you think? A's or B's? Just let me see the chat spam. I won't put a poll up. I don't know. Seems good. We'll let people percolate on it for a while. I think I could go A or B. I have a hard time putting it above Bard. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. That's true. Right now, it is weird that the dedication level is effectively 4. I haven't seen an errata on this, so... yeah, I'm going to put it at the same level as the Bard and say this is an interesting alternative to the Bard. The fact that you're only limited to enchantment and illusion spells is a thing, When you go Bard, you can pick up Magic Missile, you can pick up Heroism, you can pick up Protection, you can pick up Circle Protection, you can pick up some of those really, really awesome, amazing occult spells. This is only going to be occult, enchantment, and illusion. That's a pretty staunch set of circumstances that's going to limit you pretty heavily. All right, Archives and Ethos, don't fail me now. Uh-oh. Okay, so it is supposed to be 2. I'm not going to ding it too heavily on that. I'm assuming that is the case. A lot of text on this one, by the way. All right, next one is Cathartic Mage. Another charisma caster. Boy, they love those in Pathfinder 2, don't they? You have to have charisma 14 or the ability to cast spells from spell slots. So you either need charisma 14 or be a spellcaster. Emotions are powerful. and you can tap into that power to enhance your magic for a time. You learn to harness a particular emotional state under the right conditions, but be warned, emotions are volatile and destructive if left unchecked. The experience often leaves you reeling from unhindered emotion, requiring a rest or distraction before tapping into again. This sounds like this is the rage mage type class. And yes, Archives of Nethys is being very slow. Fantastic, great, awesome. All right, come on, Nethys. Great time for Archives of Nethys to just be slowed down. Fantastic. It does appear to be slow. So how's everybody doing out there? What are your big plans? Happy Veterans Day to everyone. Thank you to all of our armed service members who have served in the military, either currently or in the past, or to those of you who have family members, loved ones, friends who have served for our country. Big shout out to you. Thank you so much. Hey, we got it up. Cathartic mage. So here we go. Click here for more rules on using this archetype. That's always a good sign. Cathartic mage dedication. All right. You gain a spell repertoire with one cantrip of your choice from a spell list of your choice. So you pick up one spell, one cantrip, and if you're already a caster, you pick up an additional cantrip. And then you gain the catharsis reaction and the settle emotions activity. So catharsis is a reaction that is triggered by your cathartic emotion. You gain the catharsis activation effect listed for your catharsis emotion. We're probably going to have to load this, huh? You gain that emotions and mental fervor benefits for 3 rounds. When your emotional fervor ends, you suffer the emotional fallout. So kind of like Rage Mage. And after using this, you cannot use this until you settle emotions. And this is essentially a refocus. It's a 10-minute refocus to reload your catharsis. All right. All right. Here's our emotional states. We've got anger, awe, dedication, fear, hatred, joy, love, misery, pride, and remorse. It is it's crazy to me that this is an archetype. That this is an archetype. This is not an archetype. This is an entire class. I gotta be honest with you, like, this isn't, this is not a class archetype. This is just a normal archetype. It is uncommon, but, I don't know that I love the design of this. Even if it's totally fine, I just don't know that I love the design of it. Anyways, I'm not gonna read through all of these, but we'll just take a look at anger and awe. So, an enemy deals damage to you, and you can't use this if you're fatigued. So this isn't like a rage that you can just decide to use. It's got to be triggered. So this doesn't only happen until you take damage. And then if you're grabbed, immobilized, or restrained when you took damage, you can try to escape for free. And if you succeed, the creature that was grappling you or whatever takes damage equal to your level. Okay. And then if you cast a spell from your slots, and if that spell does damage, and if that spell does not have a duration, you get dangerous sorcery with that spell. So this entire thing is just so that you can do what a sorcerer does with 1 feat every single time. Okay. And then after 3 rounds, you become fatigued. And then you cannot lose that until you spend 10 minutes outside of combat, exploration activity, from that. Awe. Awe does not trigger until you or an ally within 30 feet of you critically succeeds on an attack roll. Guitar Guy Nick says you get the extra spell listed too, though. Well, let's see. No, you do not, Nick. You have to take this feat, which is the Cathartic Focus spell. But you're right. When you take that feat, you do get a focus spell. But taking a feat to gain a focus spell is pretty par for the course in these instances. So again, awe only triggers if someone critically hits or critically succeeds. Again, not something that's always going to be in your control. It could even possibly not happen. It might not happen until late in the fight. So a lot of these just don't have... you don't have a lot of control over that. You don't have a lot of agency over that. I already sort of dislike that mechanically. It's hard to make... I mean, some of these things are... These are for funsies. Oh, he crit, so now I get to go and, But here's the thing. With this anger, I mean, a sorcerer just does this with dangerous sorcery every single time. They don't have to wait until they take damage. If someone critically succeeds on an attack roll, like for me to really get the most benefit out of awe, I have to be being affected by fascination or stupefaction, and then an ally or myself also critically hits. So like the ceiling case scenario for where I am getting the most benefit out of this awe state is very unlikely to happen. Like, I don't control when people crit. The odds of me being fascinated or stupefied at any particular time are very low. If I do become fascinated or stupefied, it's not like I can rely on this because someone has to critical in order for me to benefit from this. And then what do I get if I do jump through all of these hoops? What do I get? When I cast a spell, choose a creature that was hit by my spell attack or that failed its saving throw. The creature... The creature becomes fascinated with you until the end of its next turn. Oh, and by the way, if for whatever reason this triggers after 3 rounds and the fight's still going, you become flat-footed permanently for 10 minutes until you settle your emotions. That's really bad. That is, that's bad. That is very bad. That's bad. So, okay. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that one. I'll do something here real quick. There we go. Look at that. Now we're looking the right way. All right, cool. I flipped it. For some reason I flipped it around. I know that might look really weird, but that is what it is. Okay, so it's not super great. Okay, someone said fear is really good. I will look at fear. Okay, an enemy has to make me frightened. I don't even control that. That's just something that just happens. Like, that's not... and then I increase my frightened value. But I don't take a status penalty from the frightened condition to my DCs, my spell DCs. So still to my AC and all my saves, but not to my spell DCs or my spell attack rolls. Instead, I gain a bonus instead of a penalty. And my foes take the same penalty against saving throws. So virtually the same thing. Then after 3 rounds, I become fleeing. It's so strange. Like, you're like giving into this emotion and then it takes you over and then you run away. Like this, you let your fear fuel you rather than consume you for 3 rounds and then you run away for 2 rounds. That's brutal. I mean, that's basically like being taken out of the fight. We got a super chat from Cybersmith. It says, flavor-wise, it synergizes with the psychic well. I will concede that. this is a lot of work. So this is all the emotional states. What do we get from feats? Well, we get basic spell casting. We get, you know, all that stuff. We do get an access to a focus spell. We get work yourself up, which does at 8th level allow you to manually enter your catharsis. But it you only get it for 1 turn, and it takes 2 actions. That's rough. That's really rough. And then we get infectious emotions at 12, which is when we use our catharsis, an ally gets the benefits in addition to us. That's not bad, depending on what it is. Don Pokey says, hint, work yourself up is never worth it. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would be. And then that's it. Oh, boy, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. This one does definitely has me kind of questioning whether or not this is a good one. So I'm going to put this into the poll. So this is the Cathartic mage. I don't think this class is AA, so I'm not even going to give that as an option. My sense is that the class is probably a D, but I don't think it's an F. Oh, did I put BCC? That's what I get for putting it up there. Oh, yeah, the last C is a D. You know, you know that. Sorry about that. B flavor, D mechanics. Yeah, I know. I put C twice. This is definitely not an A or a B cybersmith. No way. Voted for C2 Electric Boogaloo. All right. I just want to make sure people here aren't confused. That isn't supposed to be a C. That is actually supposed to be a D. So I'm going to end the poll. And I'm going to make a new poll. Because typing is tough, apparently. Okay. All right. There we go. We'll try this again. This one I'm not actually sure about at all. But again, my take on this is, this is possibly a flavor. I don't even think this class is particularly flavorful, honestly, because these cathartic abilities are very gamist. Just very, very gamey. So I don't even think there's a lot of flavor here. This doesn't have that sort of James Bond, Bright Lion, Indiana Jones, archaeologist feel to it. These are all game mechanics. These are all just game mechanics. And I just don't think this is particularly good. That would be my sort of takeaway on it. For sure. All right. Well, what do we do? How do we do? I'm going to let people vote for a few seconds. I'm going to take a drink. All right. All right, looks like D is winning pretty handily, and I am inclined to agree. Shout out to Bellflower Tiller from last time from Self-Confessed Cynic. Yeah, Bellflower Tiller, very, very fun, very, very flavorful, and apparently, so people are saying that you're right about getting the spell. What do you mean the spell? This is a focus spell. Oh, you're talking... Okay, sorry. you were talking about spell. Okay, I'm talking about the focus spell. That's what I was focusing on, was the focus spell, not the spell. Yeah. Is that who? It's one extra spell. Is that really all that good? I don't know that makes that much of a difference. I mean, every single tradition in the game gets access to the fear spell. Every single one. So I don't I don't know that that makes that big of a difference. I don't think that alters the rating. Getting one spell once. And by the way, here, like, we can even look at some of these. I mean, I'll be honest with you. These are, we will be fair to this. Draw Ire was a spell that did not get a great rating. Glitter Dust got an okay rating. Spirit Link does not get a good rating. Fear gets a great rating. Blood Vendetta actually got a great rating. It's a reaction, is pretty decent. Hideous Laughter is a solid-ish spell. Love Gives Soothe, which is strong. Phantom Pain, I'm not a fan of it. Some people like it, but it did okay. It's not the greatest spell in the world. Color Spray used to be better. Now it has incap, so I don't want to shit on it too much, but it's not that great. And then Warrior's Regret, I also believe, did okay in the ratings. So you do get one good spell with, for the most part. So I agree, Guitar Guy Nick. It would probably help you more if you have a very limited set of spontaneous casters like a sorcerer. But overwhelmingly, it is D, and I kind of inclined to agree. There may be, again, there's always instances, people, where there's some niche class that really benefits from this. There may even be some of these cathartic emotions, which are stronger, emotional states, which are much stronger than some of the other ones. But again, my main thing for me is I don't like that you don't get to control how or when these trigger. So, or if you do, you need to take a really crappy feat with a really crappy cost, which is work yourself up. So that's the main problem. Okay. Cavalier is next. And then we're going to do Celebrity and Chrono Skimmer. Jesus. Clockwork Reanimator. What is this game? Corpse Tender, Crystal Keeper, Curse Maelstrom, Dandy. Sheesh. All right. Cavalier. Let's go a little faster here, people. By the way, tomorrow's Veterans Day. I have off from work, so we might make this a 3-hour live stream tonight, just so we can get through some stuff and get some stuff done. If you're watching on VODs, I am trying to go back to these old ones and put links in the description for timestamps for each of the archetypes, so that it can be easier for you to find it in the future. Something that a lot of people request, and I want to make sure that we are thinking of our VOD community as well. Rank them on name only. It will go much faster. That is probably true. No, Guitar Guy Nick, please trust me. That is not annoying, sir. That is just having a conversation and we're talking about it. Okay. Cavalier Dedication. What do we got here? It's an archetype. You got to be trained in nature or society. I guess because you get a mount. You get a young animal companion that serves you mount. Well, anytime you get a young animal companion for a feat, that's pretty good. But you have to choose ones that have the mount special ability, as well as any other additional options from your pledge as determined by your GM. So there's some There's some role-playing flavor requirement here. You have to pledge yourself to an organization or an order or a city. I like that. I think that's cool. I think that's awesome when the mechanics tie you into the game. I like it. As well as any additional options. You must choose an animal companion that's at least one size larger than you, but if the animal usually starts as small, you can begin with a medium version of that animal instead. Very cool. All right. So we get a mount, and it's a young animal companion, but it's a mount. All right. That's decent. At level 4, we do not get the ability to make our mount mature like the Beastmaster does, so that's something to be noted. But we do get our choice of a lot of feats here, 4 feats. The first one is the Cavalier's Banner. So you fly. You know, it's interesting to me how Cavalier was a class in Pathfinder 1, and now it's an archetype. But Investigator was a class in Pathfinder 1, but it got a class in Pathfinder 2. Like, I wonder what the distinction was in that situation. So you fly the banner for your pledge. You and all allies within 30 feet get a +1 circumstance bonus to will saves and DCs against fear effects. If your banner is destroyed or removed, allies within 30 feet become frightened 1. So this is a permanent +1 circumstance bonus, which is very strange, against will saves and DCs. You know, that's probably fine. Seems kind of cool. I like it. 30 feet is kind of a short range, but all right. Cavalier's Charge is 2 actions. You command your animal to stride twice. At any point during this movement, you can strike one enemy within reach or range. And you get a +1 circumstance bonus to your attack roll. So it's real honest-to-God charge. So this is sort of sudden charge, but with a mount. Seems okay. Impressive mount. You've trained your mount. Oh, it does. You do get a mature animal companion. And you get the free action. Okay. Now, again, remember, you could literally do this with the Beastmaster and not have the restriction on it having to be a mount. So, just saying. With a quick mount, you can mount and command the animal to do an order. Okay, kind of like a quick draw mount. I like it. I think that's actually kind of neat. Defend mount as a reaction. An enemy makes a range or makes an attack roll against your mount while you're riding it. You can use your AC instead of your mount's AC, and if it hits, you take the effects of the hit instead of the mount. This is something that allows mechanically for mounts to work in Pathfinder 2. Mounts are going to be lower level than you, have lower armor classes, lower hit points, which is so crazy that we live in a world where you have more hit points than your horse. But I digress. This reaction is great and fantastic, and mechanically, it's kind of crazy to think of a knight interposing and taking the arrow for their horse. That would never, of course, actually have happened in anything resembling reality. But we don't live in reality, do we? We live in Golarion. But maybe you're like, fuck this horse. Oh, I thought mounted shield meant you could use your horse as a shield. Okay, this lets you raise your shield, and you and the mount gain the AC to bonus. And if you have shield block, you can block for your mount. Very cool. Incredible mount. You get a nimble or savage animal companion. Again, very cool, very useful. Stalwart standard is from Knights of Last Wall, and again, you have to have access to Knights of Last Wall, so I'm going to skip this one. Trampling Charge. 3 actions, and you can stride at speed once, and it moves through the spaces of anybody, and it deals damage equal to its melee strike, and it's probably not that great, but they're going to make a reflex save. This is probably more flavor than useful. It's not really that great. Your mount's not going to do a lot of damage. The DC is going to be pretty low. Again, very cool. Like, if I was actually on a battlefield, like if I was fighting at Helm's Deep, and I was King Theoden, or I was Aragorn, and I was charging out of the Hornburg down into the ranks of the Uruks, waiting Gandalf's and Aramir's arrival. this would be awesome. Hey, you're surrounded by a bunch of 10 hit point creatures. Okay, cool. I'm going to run them down, you know, and I'm going to crush them and kill them. Like, that would be cool. But most of the time, you're not going to be benefit from it. That is true, Lampley. I guess, you know, you can definitely, it's a guaranteed tumble through. Unseat. This one's pretty specific. You're riding your mount and wielding a jousting weapon, and you're fighting someone who's also on a mount. And if you make a melee strike against them and you make an athletics check, then you knock them off of their mount. Specialized mount lets you get specialization for your mount, again at level 14. And at level 16, you get Wave the Flag, again from Knights of Last Wall. So I'm going to skip that one, but basically reduces everybody's fright conditions by 1. And then at level 20, all the way at the very end of the game, you're quicken. And you can only use it to command your mount. You will be quicken anyways. These high-level feats that give you quicken are almost never, ever worth it. This is more of a flavor to me, in my opinion. I know that sounds crazy. This seems like more of a flavor archetype than a mechanical one. The fact of the matter is, this is for a very, very specific, type of thing. It's going to be for a campaign that is going to really benefit from the, being a mounted cavalier, serving a liege lord, having lots of opportunities to use your mounts. I haven't read all the chat. I'm sure there's somebody in there probably saying something silly and stupid about somebody squeezing their horse into a dungeon or into some Pathfinder 2 5-foot, mount or 5-foot hallway. That's silly. That's not what this class is about, and it's not even what the theme of this class really should be about. But I do think the class is got a lot of things in there which make me feel like, yeah, this lets you be an awesome cavalier. So if you're quicken from haste and from this archetype, do you get 2 extra actions or just 1? Shadram, you just get 1. So I agree. It's more of a flavor. You're saying it's not for flavor. It's very campaign specific. That is kind of the definition for me of flavor. I think that I don't think this is necessarily an S. I don't know. I mean, the mechanics seemed okay. I don't think that there's, again, a lot of these things are very awesome, and they would totally allow you to use your mount in a way that you kind of would otherwise struggle to do so in Pathfinder 2. But to me, this isn't your traditional archetype that you're going to slap on just any old character and, gain some mechanical benefits and power, right? This is pretty clearly designed around a very specific idea of flavor. And, the fact that this is even an anathema and that there's this idea of pledging your loyalty, this is really pushing you towards a very specific, in my opinion, type of campaign. Nonetheless, I think the mechanics of it are great. I think the mechanics back up the flavor. Does it state the pledges? No, it just says you have to pledge yourself to an organization or an individual such as a noble family or knightly order or something like that. And if you were pledged to an order that also has anathemas, you also have to take up their anathemas. Cavalier pledged to the Church of Abadar would be held to the same standards as a cleric of Abadar. Shadram, there is actually, you'll see that on one of these feats. I saw it here. This is, again, the ironic part of it. You'll see that some of these feats are actually in 2 archetypes. One of them Cavalier, one of them Mammoth Lord. There is a Mammoth Lord archetype. It is in the books, but the Mammoth Lord archetype, it doesn't do anything until you're like level 10. And Quest for the Frozen Flames only goes 1 to 10. So you actually really kind of can't use it. spoiler alert, one of the things that I think would be fun to do with our chat and people donating and giving them some fun goals, I'd love to see, and again, because Quest for the Foot and Flames, right, is only a 1 through 10. So you're never really going to get to that level where the Mammoth Lords are just, big, all huge elephant tusk monsters. But I think it'd be fun if they were anyways. Just because it'd be fun. So yeah, great for a last wall campaign. It's making you a landed knight. I think it's really fun. I think it's really flavorful, and I think the mechanics are strong. And I think if this fits your campaign, I think this works really well. But I don't think this just slots in the same way that that into the generic. There's too many restrictions on a mount. So for me to say that this is strictly a mechanical class, it's kind of a weird in between. I will admit that it is a hybrid, but overall I think it is strong in the flavor. So that is my thought on the Cavalier. All right, celebrity. I think we can all admit that this is immediately going to be a flavor one. Let's see. You need nothing to qualify for this. You need nothing to qualify for this archetype. You gain the upstage reaction, and in addition, when you earn income, if the level of the task is higher than your level, you get a +1 circumstance bonus to your check to earn income. Boy, Pathfinder 2, they really just love to, they really just love to just all right, upstage reaction. And a foe attempts a skill check and does not get a critical success. Effect, after your foe has tried their best, you show everyone how it's really done. Attempt a check using the same skill that triggered this reaction. Now, obviously, mechanically, it's like, oh, they made a perform check, they didn't get a critical success. I can react and I can make a performance check to see if I can do better. But the way this is written, if someone tried to intimidate me with a demoralize, or if they tried to grapple me with an athletics check and didn't get a critical success, I could use a reaction to upstage them and intimidate them back, or grapple them back, which is a little strange, but kind of cool. Again, that's not what we're really trying to do here. Anyways, it's an interesting reaction. Never tire is another reaction. It's a feat you can get at 4. If you would gain the fatigue condition, and you're observed by at least 3 creatures who aren't foes. Again, that is a very specific set of circumstances, which is very unlikely to come up in almost pretty much every game. Again, if you have your party, I suppose you're observed. But how often do you really gain the fatigue condition? In my experience, it's not very often. And again, this is where, listen, I get it. Here's the disconnect in Pathfinder 2. This is why Simulationist and Gamist mechanics, and this is why when we rated on the GNS stream, and Pathfinder 2 is more gamey than people admit. Because here's the thing. Read the requirements. And it says, as long as you have an audience, you can continue to perform. Indeed, you must. You have an obligation to your fans. So this sentence, this archetype, the simulation of what this is the idea that your character is being observed by an audience of people watching you perform, and you get fatigued. But the show must go on, and you will continue to perform. But when people want... And again, it's weird for me to complicate this, but it's like people pick and choose all the time. And this is what I don't like about the way that people approach certain aspects of Pathfinder 2, where they will demonize other games. They'll say, okay, yeah, clearly and because people will say, oh, I don't like just gamist mechanics. I like my simulation. I like my verisimilitude. But then they will take this and they'll say, okay, well, my character, is a barbarian, and is fatigued after their rage, but there's 3 party members nearby. They don't really even particularly like me. I'm not performing, they're not an audience, but I have met all the triggers and the requirements, and I am going to never tire. And that is a legitimate legal use of this reaction. But don't try to tell me that you're thinking about this game from any sort of aspect of simulation or aspect of verisimilitude. That's not what this is about. And using it in a way that isn't that way, yeah, it's cheesy and it's gamey. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, but don't lie to yourself. I don't care that you do it. Just don't lie to yourself either. That's the only thing I ask. Just be honest with it. That's all. Even still, I think this is kind of meh. The effects of the fatigue condition are ignored for a minute. Mesmerizing Gaze is 2 actions. Choose 1 creature, and they are fascinated for 1 turn. And then they are immune for a day. Not good. Command attention. 1 action. You command the attention of all around you, ensuring their gaze follows upon you until the end of your next turn. When creatures within 30 feet of you attempt saving throws against other visual effects, they use the outcome for 1 degree of success better than they rolled. An enemy within the area attempting to use a visual effect that involves focusing its attention on a particular... This, I'm going to give this a flavor F. None of this makes me feel like a celebrity. None of this even remotely, none of this makes me feel like a celebrity. This is some weird attempt to merge this with maybe some gamist mechanics, and I think they're bad. And I just really don't like this at all. I don't like it mechanically. I think they're very weak, and the flavor, just compared to some of these other classes, just sucks. Just sucks. I thought Aldori Duelist and Bellflower Tiller and Archaeologist were fun and flavorful and mechanically interesting, and the abilities tied in well. None of this makes any sort of sense to me. So, no, you still have to earn income. You can still fail the check. You get +1 to your check. That's what you get for being a celebrity. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I don't like this. And there's like 4 feats in here. It's weird, strange. Okay. Okay. This one is going to be a tough one for me because, for starters, I just can't take any class seriously if it's called Chrono Skimmer. We're playing a game where people crit fail and fall down stairs, but you're like, I am a time wizard at level 2. Okay. I get it. It's rare. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay. Here's a bunch of flowy narrative words about time being a river, and you're a leaf on the river and the banks of the river, and time is like a river. Of course it is, because that's what every single person, who has a bachelor's degree in English is going to write when you're writing the flavor text for something like Chrono Skimmer. You can see into timelines. All right, here we go. You have become partially unstuck from time and have learned to manipulate the flow of time. And like, what is this going to do? Something very underpowered and best balanced, right? When you roll initiative, you can choose one of 3 options. Do nothing and roll initiative normally. Stabilize your time stream. Or destabilize your time stream. If you choose to stabilize your time stream, you do not roll initiative. Instead, you just get take 10 on your initiative. And if you choose to destabilize your time stream, make a DC 11 flat check. And on a success, it is 19 plus your initiative. Or if you fail, it is 1 plus your initiative. So in other words, this is just random nonsense, because none of this is just random. There is either you choose to roll normally, you choose to take the average, or you choose to have a 50-50 chance of rolling low or rolling high. But on the net, this is all just average. And if you tie with your opponents, you get to go first. Very cool. Cybersmith with a $5 super chat says, a mark against the celebrity dedication. It does nothing if you are level 20 because now there are no tasks higher level than you. I mean, I suppose maybe if you're a level 20 celebrity, your GM could maybe come up with something, but yeah. Again, it's very strange. I like to think that it's just like, look, dude, you're 20th level. That's it. You're at the top of the game. You've got the EGOT, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. We got nothing else for you. You're just checked out. Thank you, by the way, for the super chat. Appreciate it. And appreciate you, Cybersmith. Welcome to the Patreon. So it's roll for initiative. Don Pokey says, I very much appreciate the ability to take 10 on initiative. To be fair, when I played my last 5th edition campaign, everybody just had static initiatives. Everybody just essentially had 10 plus their decks. And then it was static. And it was great. I loved it. It was great. So here we go. So this dedication is meh. And then you could turn back the clock on a reaction if you fail a skill check or a saving throw. You can re-roll the triggering check with a +1 circumstance bonus as you apply experience. And this is awesome, but it's once a day, so it's fairly limited. If you're playing a lot of encounters per day, the value of this goes down. If you're doing 1 or 2 encounters a day, the value of this is very, very high. But failing a skill check or a saving throw and getting to re-roll with a +1 bonus is pretty cool. I just love the idea that we're playing Pathfinder 2, and your character's level 4, and they can time travel back and do it again. But you're level 4, and you're like, well, can I cast Fly? No. That is too powerful for a low-level character like you. You're like, okay, cool. I am going to reset time real quick and do this again while maintaining the memories of how I failed the first time, so I get a bonus the second time. And you're like, you can do that, though. You can do that. Again, now you might say to yourself, but Derek, the effect of this is pretty. No, you're right. The effect of this is very much level 4. And a gamist game says this is a level 4 ability. But time manipulation, failing a check and then sending yourself back in time to do it again, that is not a level 4 ability in our simulation, right? In our verisimilitude. And again, that's fine. I liked 4th edition because 4th edition didn't give a shit about explaining how and why effects and powers worked. In theory, a lot of people say they like Pathfinder 2 because it's not just a game. It's not just a board game. It cares about the simulation and the verisimilitude. I look at this reaction for a level 4 character and I say, I don't think so. Again, it is rare. Guide the timeline. Choose an ally or foe. If you choose an ally, the next time within the next round that ally makes an attack roll or skill check, they roll twice to take the higher check. If you choose a foe, they must roll twice to take the lower effect. Oh, they're going to make a will save, though. Still, very powerful. Reversing charge. You dive into the fray before rewinding time so that you are safe. Stride your speed, and then if you end your movement, so it's 2 actions, you move once. If you end your movement within melee reach of at least one enemy, you can make a melee strike, then you teleport back to the square from where you began the charge. Sure. Hey, what's your level 8 character capable of doing? I can teleport by rewinding time myself. I don't think you're wrong, Corey. I don't think you're wrong, Corey. I mean, it does say role-playing game all over the game. It does not say it on the cover. You are correct. But Dungeons and Dragons doesn't say role-playing game on the cover either, Corey. See. Superimposed time duplicates. These things are getting more and more outrageous. Once per hour. All right, I'm listening. You call, of course, level 8 power. You call upon alternate dimensional versions of, oh, no, I'm sorry. You call upon alternate versions of yourself either from a different timeline or perhaps yourself from a different point in your current timeline. I just love the idea that there is out there today somebody playing Quest for the Frozen Flame, and they're a Chrono skimmer. They have a stone axe, bone armor. So Damien gets a cookie. Damien is 100% correct. RPG! Very correct. RPG! Archetype is very cool, but whoever wrote this is just such a dweeb. This is the most Mary Sue archetype I've ever seen in my life. Like, oh, I want to be a Time Lord. Okay. Anyways, you make alternate selves. They flank with you. JG, exactly. This is written like a 4E epic destiny. JG, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I know a lot of you have not read 4th edition, but in 4th edition, you go 1 to 30. And 1 to 10 is the heroic tier, and 11 to 20 is the paragon, where you are like one of the best mortal adventurers in all the land. And then 21 through 30 is called the epic tier, where your character is like wrestling gods and punching demons and overthrowing empires and burning planes to the ground, right? You are an epic level character. These are the kind of abilities that epic level characters get in 4th edition. And this is, we haven't even gotten to level 10 yet. So this is great. Borrow time. You become quickened. Sure. Once per minute for free action for 1 turn. Then you become stunned 1 because, of course, you're borrowing the time. I mean, now that is balanced. But if it's like the last turn of the combat or it's like a do or die moment, I still think that's very reasonable. Sometimes you need to take 4 actions in a turn, and it's okay if you're stunned 1 on the next turn. Steal time. You get to slow somebody once an hour. Why not? Slow. One of the most broken spells in the entire game. Get it as a feat. Sure. The class keeps going, huh? Okay. Combat premonition. Everybody's rolling at initiative twice. Escape timeline, another free action, because why not? Your turn begins, your physical form stops existing, you can't be targeted, and you just don't exist in time and space. Your turn ends immediately, and you advance 1 round for all purposes. Great. Hey, the ceiling's collapsed. I escaped from this timeline. Space-time shifting. Okay. I've read enough. I mean, this is all absurd stuff. This is broken. I mean, these are extremely powerful abilities. But here's the thing. You're like, okay, Derek, but can I like time travel? And you're like, well, no, you can't. Well, can I teleport to the other side of the room? No, you can only charge at an enemy and then teleport back to where you were standing when you started your turn. I don't know. I mean, there's so many abilities here that are all once per day, once per 10 minutes, once per 1 minute, once per hour. I think there's literally every once per you can have. It's gonna be a nightmare to track. I don't even know how to rate this. I mean, all of these powers and feats are very good. They're very powerful. They're very useful. The class has a lot of flavor. Has a lot of mechanical power to it. I don't want to just say it's a flavor class. It definitely feels like you're a Chrono skimmer. I don't think this even remotely belongs in a fantasy RPG, but what the hell do I know? That's just my personal opinion. All right. So I think we can all agree on this. Can we all agree on this? That the flavor here is an S. The flavor of this class is very high. You are going to be doing awesome stuff. And you're going to feel like a Chrono skimmer. But what about the mechanics? They seemed pretty juicy to me. Not busted. Not broken. Just juicy. I don't think I would go lower than a C. So what do you all think? So I mean, we're gonna put this. This one's gonna be in two things. It's definitely, it's definitely a flavor S. It gets that for me. These are all. Your character is literally gonna be borrowing time and flanking with themselves from the future and talking to yourself as an old man and escaping timelines. Like, it feels very Chrono skimmalicious. But mechanically, how's it rate? Seems very powerful to me. A lot of these abilities are fairly powerful, fairly useful. So I'm not disinclined to give it a low score here. So we'll get some more votes in, and I'm going to take a drink. All right. While everybody's voting, I just want to say thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you have any questions or something like that, just go ahead and drop a super chat or a tip. There's a link in the description below for a Stream Elements tip. And let us know, and I'll try to get that question answered. If I catch it in chat, I'll also answer it that way. And again, if you're interested in supporting us and joining the Knights of the Last Call, and you really enjoy these kind of in-depth discussions of mechanics and interaction and RPG philosophy, then check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Knights of Last Call. There's a link in the description for that as well. And we have some really low tier options that'll let you get into our Discord, which is pay only. So it's just for our paying patrons. So it's kind of a closed community, but we think it raises the quality level. In fact, I know it raises the quality level. And a lot of people, so many people have told me in private messages and public messages that this is, without a doubt, the best Discord server they've ever been a part of. And we're really, really proud of that. And that's not just on me. In fact, it's almost has less to do with me and more to do with the amazing community that we've built. And so if you think that that kind of community is right for you, I encourage you to check it out. All right, well, overwhelmingly, it looks like we have a solid A on the mechanics, and I am not going to disagree. Chrono Skimmer, very powerful. Very good. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Again, the flavor very strong mechanically, but the flavor of this, flanking with yourself by borrowing, stealing time, becoming stunned one next round so that you are hasted this round or quickened this round. That's cool. I like that. Borrow time. Steal time. Awesome. You're stealing that person's time. They become slowed. That makes sense. That's awesome. All right. This is from Outlaws of Alkenstar Adventure Path, and it's a rare archetype called the Clockwork Reanimator. We got a lot of feats here, people. All right, we're gonna do this one pretty quick here. It's from an adventure path, so probably not as common as some of the other ones. I would assume. All right, you are making steampunk zombies from the sounds of it. You have unlocked the secret connections between necromancy and clockwork locomotion. And if this isn't the most Pathfinder 2 thing I've ever heard in my entire life, I don't know what is. Nothing says Pathfinder 2 like clockwork locomotion and necromancy. Fantastic. And, you know, we got to add this in here. While some think this is vile, you see beauty and utility in your animated corpses. Of course you do. You get to make a prototype construct companion with your dedication. I believe this is something that the inventor makes normally. It's fairly similar to a beast. Literally beast animal companion. GM Scott, welcome. GM Scott says steampunk zombie. Only thing that would make it more cringe is if it was also somehow a pirate. All right, so you get a minion, you get an animal companion, but it's a Clockwork prototype. It's a corpse animated by Clockwork gears and technological process. Note, that is purely flavor. There's no mechanics to that at all. It's just saying, hey, you get one of these, but yours is like, you know, an undead with gears. So it's way cooler. Just saying. I mean, when people ask you, you're going to be able to tell them, but mine has gears. My prototype construct companion undead, mine goes to 11. Okay. This one, level 4, it goes to advanced, and you get the free action. It gets a free action even if you don't command it. Pretty basic for animal companion type stuff. At 4, you can also get 3 actions to hijack an undead once per hour. You can make a melee strike against an adjacent undead creature, and on a success, it becomes controlled by you if its level is equal to or lower than your level minus 3. I'm going to tell you that in 99% of situations, you are never going to encounter most creatures that are your level minus 3. But hey, you can do it once an hour, and that's okay. It might seem a bit jarring if someone uses this in a Lord of the Rings flavored high fantasy story. Minandreas is really asking the important questions here. Even if you could do this, why would you even want to? It's alive! Oh, now you've mastered the use of electrical energy to power your clockwork creations. Whenever your construct companion takes electricity damage, it gains temporary hit points equal to half the electricity damage it took, or your level, whichever is lower, of course. These last a minute. Great. So you take a feat, and then sometimes when it takes electricity damage, it takes the lower of your level or the electricity, half the electricity damage. By the way, it still takes the electricity damage. Just pointing that out there. Like if it gets hit with a lightning bolt for 50 damage, it takes the 50 damage, and then it would either gain 25 temporary hit points, or your level, which would be like, 6 or 8. So that's cool. It's not cool, by the way. Sorry. I don't want to confuse anybody. That's not cool. You can upgrade to incredible. At 12, it can self-destruct. And it becomes a fireball. 2d6 damage, fire damage per level. And it's a basic reflex DC, which is your class DC. And instead of 500 feet for a fireball, it's 60 feet. And instead of whenever you want to do it, your creature has to die, and then it's a reaction. But you know what? This could be fun, and why not? Your creature's dead anyways. Blow it up. You get improved hijack undead, and if it fails, instead of for 1 minute, it is for 10 minutes. Again, still level minus 3. At 14, you get a Paragon Construct Companion. Again, this is just increasing the hit points and the strike damage and all that other stuff from your character. And then at level 16, you get Unwind Death. You can make a DC 40 crafting check to revive a creature that has been dead for no more than 3 rounds. It returns to life as if with a raised dead, but it still has the wounded condition, and it actually increases its wounded condition by 1. Probably not that useful, but it is very cool. I like the requirement. The target's body must be mostly intact. Mostly intact. And then lastly, zombie horde at 3 or 20. Again, this doesn't matter, but because your animated companion is made up of all these things, it can break into a bunch of little things, and then it's a horde of tiny constructs, and who cares? Okay. So. Okay. Well, that is interesting. Well, it's not a mechanical class. I mean, that's for sure, right? I mean, we can admit that, right? This is a flavor class, right? You're a mad scientist, Dr. Frankenstein, making mechano zombie steampunk. Literally, there's a thing called It's Alive. I mean, this is a Dr. Frankenstein ripoff. Just your Dr. Frankenstein is also, you know, going on adventures and gaining sick loot instead of, you know, working in a workshop, which is where a character with this archetype would do and is doing. But we'll ignore that. Unwind Death is kind of probably stupid, but it's fun. It's flavorful. I like it. Flavor B? I don't know. What do you think, chat? Flavor B? Seems. Look, if you want to be the weird, tinkering, mad scientist, steampunk person, I think this archetype gets it done. Yeah. All right. If Don Pokey agrees, that's good enough for me. All right. Moving on. Moving right along. All right. All right. So we can already start by saying this is a flavor class. Literally, this class is a farmer of undead corpses in Geb. So this is like the very definition of a flavor class. Yeah, I don't know what kind of campaign you would play a Clockwork Reanimator in. And to me, a Clockwork Reanimator is the kind of character that would probably not be an adventurer. They would be, you know, someone who sits at home at their workshop and does it. But it's got definitely that cool kind of, you know, pulp horror, you know, the 40s and the 50s horror movies. Maybe not the 40s, but like the 50s and the 60s. You know. So, yeah, maybe the Outlaws of Alkenstar. I thought Outlaws of Alkenstar was more, yeah, maybe it's more, I didn't know it was as undead focused, but yeah, something like the Mana Waste or something like that. Very Mad Max, steampunk, weird things, you know. Yeah, I would agree. More like something like from one of those games. So anyways, you are a farmer who tends to zombie farm hands and zombie farm animals. All right, so should any of these archetypes be rated on their usefulness to GMs rate making NPCs? Absolutely not. I never, ever, 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 ever use mechanics. I never even care what mechanics a PC can do when I make an NPC. And what NPCs, this is not Pathfinder 1. In fact, that's why I hated making monsters in Pathfinder 1. Because foes in Pathfinder 1 were just really, they were just PCs. But in Pathfinder 2, they broke that. you know, very clearly. They said NPCs do NPC things and PCs do PC things. They do not need to follow the same set of rules. They can just do and be whatever you need them to be in order to either do something mechanically within an encounter, or to do something narratively within your narrative, or to be something inside of your simulation. Don't worry about whether or not there's a feat or an archetype that can do it. You don't have to make an archetype just so that you can have an NPC that is that thing. Very important. Don't let yourself get trapped by that. Yeah, you can be inspired. That's totally fine. You can be inspired by an archetype the same way that you could be inspired by a movie or a TV show to just make an NPC. But the mechanics and the don't matter. All right. All right. Well, the prerequisite is evil alignment training. Obviously, this is for bloodlords. You have to be evil. You have to be trained in religion. You're managing farm animals, undead farm animals in Geb. This is very, very much an AP-specific archetype. So this is 100% a flavor archetype, so let's just grade it based off of that. Okay. You are a farmer of undead things. You can communicate to them. You can use diplomacy and make impressions even on mindless undeads, and you can even make simple requests of them. The mindless trait does not grant them immunity to these mental effects. So most undead are likely hostile to you by default, and you must keep a safe distance in order to make an impression. Cool and mechanical explanation for how these characters are able to work with otherwise mindless, hostile undead. I already like this. I really like this dedication for what this thing is trying to be. All right, then you can command a corpse. You gain the command undead feat, but you can only use it to transform the effects of harm spells you cast on mindless undead. So only on your, basically your zombies for the most part. And again, you can control creatures with level equal to your level -1 instead of level -3. Very cool. The font. You easily tend to the wounds of the dead. You can cast harm as a divine spell once a day. All right, well, that's cool and all, but once a day harm, and you can only target mindless undead. This one's a very, very, very weak. This one's a very weak font. I mean, I guess it's it's like a divine font for harm, but you can only use it on mindless undead. But it's only giving you one. Come on. Improved command corpse. You could command, and if it succeeds at its save but doesn't critically save, it's your minion for 1 round. If it fails, you gain it for an hour, and if it critically fails, it's 24 hours. You can imbue mindlessness. You grasp the mind of an undead creature and temporarily wipe it as empty as a zombie's brain. So you can target a creature that is an undead and basically turn it into a mindless undead. And they become stupefied. But if they failed, you can also use your corpse tender feats on them. I mean, this is fine. I mean, it's obviously very, very a flavor thing. I don't think this one is as cool as some of these other ones. I don't think this is even as cool, honestly, as the Clockwork Reanimator. To me, this is more of a flavor C. I think compared to some of these other flavorful archetypes, this one, I got to admit, the dedication feat is good. I like the dedication feat. I like that it allows you to use diplomacy to make impressions and make simple requests of mindless undead. Cool. Awesome. You get around that mechanical restraint through this dedication. But the feats were kind of lackluster, even within the context of being a flavor. So, didn't do it for me. But cool, though. I like the dedication. That's why I always tell people. Does it give you neck roll? No. I did not see that guitar guy. I did not. Oh, Jesus. Help me out here. Crystal Keeper. I have no idea what this is. It's rare, though, and it's from Age of Ashes. I read Age of Ashes. I never played Age of Ashes. But a lot of people have said it's not great. But I read it, and I remember thinking, this seemed okay. All right. In the era before Earthfall, the elven people of Galarian exhibited a wide range of mastery over magic. A sect of elves who venerated the goddess Ural first developed the techniques of the Crystal Keeper, but this tradition has been long since forgotten by most of the world. There are those who still remember, though. PCs can gain access to the Crystal Keeper archetype from the tragic figure that haunts Jewel Gate Way Station in Fires of the Haunted City. Those are very, very, very specific to Age of Ashes, to a specific archetype, to a rare archetype. You have to be trained in society or elven lore. It's pretty specific here. What do you get? You gain resistance 10 to crystal hazards. It's tight. And you can use Arcana, Occultism, Religion, or Society to decipher writings on crystals. Also very tight. You get Crystal Ward spells. It's a special type of focus spell. You get a focus pool if you don't have one. It takes 10 minutes to refocus them by concentrating and playing with some gems. And you gain the Electrified Crystal Ward focus spell. And this is intelligence-based. You can target a hinge or latch. A hinge or latch. And it creates an electric latch rune, which does 3d12 damage. Okay. And you can only have one of these up at a time, but the duration is infinite. Okay. It's good that that's a focus spell. It's kind of strange. Okay. Hinge or latch only. Okay. This is this is not good. I mean, this is pretty weak. My study of crystals now lets me electrify hinges? What? I am a lost disciple of the goddess Uriel. My tradition has been kept alive for 10,000 years since Earthfall, and now I can pass my knowledge on to you, adventurer. Oh, teach me your ancient elven magics. Oh, be careful, they are written into the very glittering bones of the earth, the crystals. Here, I will show you our power. See that hinge over there? Watch as I make it into an electrical trap. What? What? Who wrote this? Oh, that's bad. I'm giving it. I'm giving that an F. Screw it. I don't even care. By the way, there's a triple reference. You have to look up the archetype, which lets you look up the focus spell, which lets you then look up the trap. Minandrea says this was written in the early days of Pathfinder 2, and it shows. Don Pokey says, thank you for the reaffirmed reaction, Derek. I do what I can. F for sure, says Minandreas. I'm sure it has something of value, Boothby, but I'm not messing with that. All right. Curse of the Maelstrom. I'm just realizing we are only going to get through D tonight. I realize it's 8:40. I said we were going to go to 3 hours. We're going to go to 10, but this is the last. This is the last one in C. So, Curse Maelstrom is our next one here. It's kind of a weird. Isn't that like a noun? I don't know. Doesn't sound like the name of an archetype. All right. That seems reasonable. Don Pokey says, Curse Maelstrom. Been a while since we've seen a good archetype, though you may not like this one. Ooh, interesting. All right. You have a powerful curse. Oh, this is Edgelord City. Man, did I miss the memo that, like, is Pathfinder 2 just only about, like, characters with horrible hidden secrets? I have a curse inside of me that I am a time traveler from a different timeline where Golarion was destroyed, and I have come back through time at level 1 in order to save the day. I am a psychic who, okay. I think that's mostly just Dark Archive. All right, JG, you might be right on that one, but there's elements of that all over the place, but you are correct. That is definitely Dark Archive. Don't cut myself on the edge. I know, they're so edgy. So basically, this character is Raven from Teen Titans, right? Is this Raven from Teen Titans? I think all of these people just watch the same media that we do, and then they go, I'm going to make that into something. So, okay. So I'm thinking Raven from Teen Titans. This is what I'm thinking. I might be wrong, but that's my initial take. Misery loves company, ain't it the truth? It's rare. You have to have been cursed or previously cursed. My soul. The curse has left a lingering stain on my soul, and its effects continue to plague me, even as the curse's other effects have ended. During an encounter, when I succeeded a check, the GM can offer to have you roll again, taking the second, so I can give myself disadvantage. And if I do that, I enter into the cursed maelstrom state. Azeroth, Cintrion, Synthos. If the misfortune effect is somehow canceled by effect, you do not enter the cursed maelstrom state. Listen, the curse that lives within you will not be fooled by your metagame shenanigans. In addition, the curse is jealous of its place within your soul and gladly lashes out when anyone would usurp that position. How dare you? I am your first love. I am your curse. If a foe places a misfortune effect on your roll, and that effect applies to your roll, you also enter into a cursed maelstrom state. Oh, no. All right. While you are in a cursed maelstrom state, you cannot benefit from fortune effects. No spending your hero points. And they also don't cancel misfortune effects. They simply have no effect on you. Haha, I'm immune to your misfortune. Everyone within 10 feet of me, other than me, gets a -1 status penalty on all saving throws and skill checks thanks to the swarm of bad luck rippling out from me. So this is starting to get kind of like Domino-y from Marvel. For those of you who don't know, Domino, who featured in the second Deadpool movie, is not just lucky. She actually absorbs the luck from everyone around her, and then she becomes really lucky, and everyone else around her becomes very unlucky. Just saying. All right, I'm in my cursed maelstrom state. We've come a long way, from chainmail and long swords and goblins and chests of gold with a couple of glittering gems and maybe a scroll and perhaps a multifaceted ruby gleaming, glittering in the flickering orange torchlight. No, now we are entering into our cursed maelstrom state. Cursed maelstrom state, activate. Horizon Thunder Sphere. Okay. Sorry. I do love that movie. Right, because my curse maelstrom could also be a poppet leshy. That's right. Why have chainmail and a longsword and a battered wooden shield when I can do 2 rounds Horizon Thunder Sphere while I am in cursed maelstrom state? All right. I can expend my maelstrom and it shoots into somebody. Take my maelstrom. We got a super chat from Damian Williams who says, I don't know why Paizo doesn't like you. It's true. I don't know. All right. You can shoot unluck into them. What is this? -2 status penalty to saves and skill checks. Still not as good as Frightened. You really want that penalty to AC, you know? You really want that penalty to AC. That's unfortunate. And attack rolls, right? We really want to get them on their attack rolls and their AC, people. -2, not going to cut it. You get a +2 circumstance bonus to identify magic on cursed items. Okay, we have officially found the worst feat ever. Congratulations. The radius of our curse is increased by 5 feet. And we can attempt to demoralize a creature with our emanation. All right, so 1 action. We expand our unluck aura. Oh, it's a skill feat. Thank you, JG. In this case, it's horrible, so it's par for the course with pretty much every other skill feat. So I was unduly critical of it, but thank you. Oh, listen, expelling your maelstrom ability is part of your dedication. Yeah, this is fine. I mean, this is 1 action. I don't hate this. I just wish it affected AC and our attack roll, the thing that we mostly care about. Share burden. An ally would be affected by a curse or misfortune, and we can react, and we can draw the misfortune into ourselves, potentially enabling us to enter a cursed maelstrom effect. So this is obviously a like I have run 3 Pathfinder 2 campaigns. I'm running a 3rd, and I can probably count on maybe 2 hands how many times I've actually put a misfortune effect on somebody. So I guess it really comes down to how often, people are dropping curses and misfortune effects on party members. But yeah, you can react. Your ally doesn't get affected by it. You get it instead. You enter into your cursed maelstrom state. I mean, that seems reasonable. Cursed magic. When your curse spills out, you can lay curses. You can cast Claim Curse. You can also cast Seal Fate. You can also cast Inevitable Disaster. You get these 3 spells once per day as occult innate spells. Cool. You can counter curse. You can counteract the curse. Torrential Backlash. All creatures within your curse. So it's 2 actions. You're in your cursed maelstrom state. It ends after you do it. Everyone takes 1d6 negative damage for each level you have with a basic fort save. That's a little weak. But you're getting it for free, sort of. You have to enter your state, which means you needed to be in your state, which has its problem. But it's okay. It's okay. This isn't great, but it's okay. Reverse Curse. When you counter a curse or misfortune effect, you send it back to destroy its originator. Whenever you succeed at the counteract check to counter curse, and that has all the problems that counteracting has in this game, which is usually the things that you want to counteract are higher level than you, which means you usually are going to fail the counteract check or even need to just critically succeed to even succeed at all. The creature is then affected by its own curse or misfortune effect, attempting a saving throw against its own DC. Very cool, just very, very unlikely to happen. Number 1, you have to have all these feats. Number 2, you have to counter the curse with the counter curse, meaning I have to be in my cursed maelstrom state. So first, they had to have cursed me, which then caused me to enter into my cursed maelstrom state. Now that they've cursed me once, and I'm in my cursed maelstrom state, they try to curse me again, or curse the area again. Then I counter it. Then I succeed at that counteract check, which may require me to not only roll really high, but possibly get a critical hit, which might meet a 20. Then if I do all that, and I have reverse curse, then they have to save against that effect. So this will happen once every 10,000 years. Cool, though. Hey, we got a super chat from Cybersmith. He says, in fairness to Paizo, they avoided the power creep of the odd stuff. Human fighter is still the ceiling. Weird flavor is optional and never needed. And you know what, Cybersmith? I think that is an excellent point. it would be, I think, more problematic. The generic basic stuff out of the game is, still probably the most powerful stuff, and people aren't being pulled into this weird wonky stuff because of power gaming or metagaming reasons. So, exactly. Your chainmail longsword wooden shield guy never feels weak because they chose to be the chainmail longsword weak guys. As a GM, this gets to that the Soft Fudge Factory forum post, both be on the Discord. If as a GM, if one of your players takes this archetype, are you going to up the number of curses and such used against the party? My answer to that would be no, I would not. Now, this is the problem with APs. If someone was this Cursed Maelstrom archetype, and we were playing in a full sandbox game, and they say, hey, let's go to, I don't know, the town that is controlled by a consortium of hags, or let's go to the dungeon of the Witch King, where everybody it's a place of the curses of shadows lay upon it. You can make those decisions because it maximizes your efficiency as a character who is particularly useful against curses. But if you're playing Rise Through the Rune Lords and you're going to fight Borrow Breakbones, the giant warrior guy with some necromancy spells, sorry, no dice. That's just the way it goes. All right, Cursed Maelstrom. This feels like a flavor. I'm going to say it's a flavor B. I think it's cool. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here about curses, and you're sucking it in yourself, and you're absorbing curses from your allies, and then you're using that pain to power it, and you can have an aura of unlock, and you can unnerve people within your aura, and you can share the burden of curses. You can expel your curse and bring it and focus it onto an enemy. And then potentially in this 1 in a million situation, you can reflect a curse back on the target. It's very cool. Flavor-wise, mechanically, I think it's a little weak. I think a lot of this stuff is not going to come up a lot of times, but this is just a flavor play. It's just a flavor play. Guess that goes to the question of should archetypes and other character options be selected based upon what you are seeing in the game you are in instead of a pre-programmed build. I think so. I mean, it all depends on what is the type of game that you are running. There's this idea that it is the GM. I mean, and I don't think this is right or wrong. There's this idea that it is the GM's responsibility. Well, okay, let me rephrase it. I have an opinion on that, but that doesn't mean that I think this is bullshit. But that doesn't mean I'm right. Which is there's this idea that it is the GM's responsibility to indulge all of the fantasies of their players. I don't ascribe to that. I don't think that is my job. My job as a GM is to fill the characters' lives with adventure and danger, to be a fan of the PCs, so there's an element of that, and to say what honesty demands. So me indulging their fantasies is not necessarily my operative agenda. Do I want to be a fan of them? I absolutely. And I, even to the point of saying, I think that this class is not a good option, or you need to be doing things that are going to increase the efficiency of this. But this lazy form of player building, and this is really what it is. It's lazy. It's the players saying, I chose this. I made this build. Before I even showed up to the session, I had no concern or care for what anybody else was doing, my fellow players, the GM. And now, GM, make the world entertain me. I'm here. I've made my decisions. Now make it all go work. I don't like that. I don't like that attitude in a player. If you're in my campaign, I'd have a problem with that. So, all right. All right, that's it. That's it for the C's. So now we're into the Ds. We've got the Dandy, the Demolitionist, the Dragon Disciple, the Drow Shootist, which is a horrible term, Shootist, the Dual Weapon Warrior, and the Duelist. So guess what? We're going to try to get through these. We're going to try to get through these 6. Okay? Can we do it? All right, we got to D. All right, let's do it. We got to the D. Gave her the D. All right. Dandy. You are a genteel master of style, culture, and decorum, aware of even the subtlest rules of etiquette, whether you were born into this status or acquired it later in life or merely pretend to possess it. If you look and act your part to manicured perfection. AK, I missed the Cathartic mage ranking. Why so low? I don't like that from a mechanical perspective. I don't like how much you don't get to control how your emotional benefit, activates. It's kind of in the hands of randomness. Oh, my ally got a crit. Cool. I mean, it would have been cool if I could have gotten that, forever ago, but, I don't control that. That was my main reason for it. And then the abilities and the powers were a little sus. Dandy dedication. All right, so leaning towards skill here. You are a consummate master of dignity, so you have to be trained in diplomacy to pick up this dedication. You can use a diplomacy skill to perform the special downtime activity Influence Rumor, right? So keep in mind, this is where we talked about this before with skill feats. The existence of the Dandy dedication implies that you cannot influence rumor unless you are a dandy. Spending at least 1 day in downtime to manipulate the course, tone, and content of a rumor to your benefit. Now, here's again the problem. There is not a single GM that is on here tonight. There is not a single GM. Well, okay, I'm probably speaking too soon here, but if I had a PC who had a high diplomacy and there was a rumor going around town and they said, hey, GM, I want to try to manipulate the course, tone, or content of a rumor to my benefit. If I can't imagine that there's any GM in the history of this game, with the exception of maybe a handful of very, 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 very raw people or Pathfinder Society people who would ever say, no, you can't do that. And they say, why? And you say, you're not a dandy. So while this is interesting, it's kind of useless, right? Or is the existence of this ability from this dedication, from this one dedication, the only way you can get access to this, enough to say that this activity is verboten everywhere else? Now, here's what's interesting, Boothby. You say, I would allow that without the dedication, but it might take longer for you to do that than 1 day to change the course of discourse in an entire community. Now, that's interesting, Boothby, because would you have said that if they never printed this in the APG? If the Dandy dedication didn't exist, if this ability didn't exist, and someone asked you to do this, what would your call be? So you're still saying that the existence of this dedication is influencing your ruling, your punishment. Because if someone asked you to do something else, maybe not influence a rumor, but something else in the game, but there was no Dandy dedication or I don't know, muckraker dedication that would specifically do it. Would you, what would your decision, what would your decision be? Would it be okay if the Dandy dedication was a skill feat? No, I just don't think. I think things like this are silly in a game that claims to be simulationist based. In a simulationist based games, it's a very weird design space. You're correct, AK. So, anyways, this is interesting. It's fine, but you become expert if you were already trained, which is cool. You can become trained at, do you get expert in 2 things? You become trained in deception and society, and if you were already trained, you become an expert instead. So you get 2 experts. Double expert's nice. That's pretty good. And I'm not even saying I hate this action. I'm just more implying the existence of it precludes needing it. Distracting flattery. You can know how to make a good impression and manage your image even while keeping uncouth company. Make a deception check against the target's will DC. They are then immune. For 10 minutes, trigger. You observe a target's attitude toward yourself or allies decrease as a result of an ally's behavior, and if you succeed, it does not go down. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. You know, for combat, no. But, you know, if you are using, but again, here's the thing. If your GM is using the Pathfinder 2 rules in order to run skill encounters, then these type of rules will be very useful to you. If your GM is one of those GMs who says, yeah, I understand that we're playing Pathfinder 2, and I understand that there are a number of skills, from deception to diplomacy to intimidation to society to lore, all of stealth, all of which could be used in a skill situation. And then there are dozens and dozens of skill feats, and certain classes gain certain extra bonus skill feats. But when we get to a scene where we're going to be interacting with, say, the captain of the Queen's Guard, we're just going to role play it. By the way, I hate that term, but I'm using it so that you understand. You're always role playing, even when you're fighting in combat and saying I'm striking, because you're playing a role playing game. But you're like, we're just going to act it out. Well, if that's then feats like this don't matter and don't exist. But exactly, Boothby. How many people are tracking actions and reactions in a social encounter? Exactly. On the other hand, yes, and AK, kind of in exactly same things, right? Maybe it's my table, but I never saw someone actually use the NPC attitude charts, etc. Really needs a specific type of game. But that's not what Pathfinder 2 assumes. Pathfinder 2 assumes that when you go and you talk to the captain of the Queen's Guard, that you need to ask him a request. And you need to ask him, I need to get an audience with the Queen, and it needs to be private because I have something to tell her that it could affect the whole kingdom. And you say, okay, I want to make a request. Well, you say, well, you can't make a request to the captain of the Queen's Guard. Why? Well, because in order to make a request to the captain of the Queen's Guard, he needs to have an NPC attitude of friendly or helpful. Well, what's his attitude right now? It's indifferent. You know, he doesn't care who you are. You know, you're not a criminal, so he's not unfriendly, but you're nobody to him. And you go, okay, that's great, that's fine. And then another character says, you know, hey, I want to make an impression on this Captain of the King Guard. Warm up to him. Make sure he understands how important it is. He looks like a soldier. I'm a soldier. We talk about how we both spent time in the wars. I ask him about the battles that he'd been in. I'm warming the guy up. And then, you know, they completely balls their role. And you are about to see, due to the make an impression check doing badly, that the Captain of the Queen's Guard is about to go from indifferent to unfriendly. And that's when your dandy, jumps in with distracting flattery and makes a deception check. And they succeed, and the target's attitude does not decrease as a result of my ally's social blunder. That is the world in which this ability, dare I say this archetype, matters. If you're not doing that, then this doesn't matter. But if you are playing your game like that, then yeah, that's pretty good. Most of your social encounters in Pathfinder 2 are going to be making an impression rolls, which is roll a d20, and then make a request, which is roll a d20. Hey, John, what's up? Welcome to the adventure, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Very, very, very cool. Glad to have you. Love to see it. Joining the adventure does 25 damage to our hype boss, so Rick S. is teetering on the edge. So thank you very much for that generous support, and we'd love to have you here, and thank you again for joining the adventure. Awesome. Enjoy the emojis. So yeah, if I was playing a very skill-focused Pathfinder 2 campaign, or the adventure that I was on had a lot of these interactions, and my GM was actually using the mechanics of Pathfinder 2 for social interaction, then having this dandy dedication and having this distracting flattery reaction would actually be pretty dang cool. I get gossip lore. A special lore skill that allows us to recall knowledge, but on any topic. Okay, cool. But if I fail, I get defective dubious knowledge. Ugh, I hate that. But if I get legendary proficiency in society, I get expert proficiency in gossip lore. I like the idea of this. I just have a personal problem with dubious knowledge. You all know that. I can roll deception in place of earning income, making an impression, request, or subsist because of my fabricated connections. Again, this is a classic Pathfinder 2 maneuver where the rules of the game are very clear. You make an impression with a diplomacy check. Period. And there might be a lot of people out there who say, hey, Derek, can I make an impression with this person? But like, I'm going to lie to them and really talk myself up and be really, really, maybe I'm lying to them a little bit. Per the rules of the game, no, you can't. It's a diplomacy check. You need class features or skill feats like fabricated connection that allow you to alter or change. Look at medicine. Look at treat wounds. Hey, that's a medicine check. Yeah, Derek, but my character's a druid. Can't I use like my knowledge of roots and berries and leaves and unguents and saps? You know, like Aragorn did in Lord of the Rings. And you say, yeah, you can. If you take natural medicine. Natural medicine allows you to use nature instead of medicine to make treat wounds checks. Period. Some people feel very constrained by that. And I understand that you do. But also, that is the literal game that we're playing. So there's sort of a yin-yang to that. And, you got to be kind of, you got to be moderate. You got to be aware of that. That's all I'm saying. Because in a world where your GM just allows you to lie to make impressions, then fabricated connections does nothing. Okay? But if I can make requests and impress or even earn income using deception instead of using a lore skill or something else, then that's very cool. Also understand. And you know why they did that, Damien? Because they didn't want to just make medicine useless and you could just take 1 feat and now I can take my nature all the way to legendary, yada, yada, yada. In fact, my cleric did that. My cleric became an expert in medicine just so they could get ward medic and continual recovery, but they had natural medicine because they were taking their nature to legendary anyway. So, Heyo. We got a super chat. Well, if he's teetering on the edge, here you go. John Edwards finishes off Rick S. the Hype Boss. Rick, we love you, buddy. We know you're going to be back, but for right now, John Edwards is our new Hype Boss.
RPG! 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 RPG!
Wouldn't the lie activity just be another way to get past that guard without having to go through the trouble of changing his disposition with make an impression? Yes, possibly, but lie has its own problematic issues as well, Henry. If we look at the lie feat, or lie action, sorry. You make a single deception check against the perception DC instead of their will DC. That's important to note. And they believe your lie. But that doesn't necessarily make you able to request something from them. Quite frankly, I'm not really sure what this does. But, hey, it's fine. All right, Party Crasher. If you're a master in society, anytime you encounter a social event you would ordinarily be denied access to, you can spend 1d4 hours to secure entry without the need for a skill check. All right. I like this archetype. If you are playing social rules of Pathfinder 2, and you're using them, and your GM is enforcing them, and you need to use your character's abilities to get into places. This to me is a flavor A. I think this is a great archetype. I think it really sells the idea mechanically of your character being a dandy. and having all of these fabricated connections and distracting flatteries, and those mechanically, work. Don Pokey says Flavor A, much as I loathe the Pathfinder 2nd Edition raw social mechanics assumption, but that is the way it works. JG also agrees, saying very solid flavor, but only if you use the social rules, which I'm not sure I recommend in the first place. Let me be clear about something. The social rules as we see them in Pathfinder 2 exist specifically because they're quick. Most of the classes in Pathfinder 2 are designed for combat. And I know people don't want to hear that, but they are. Matt Colville just did a video this week. And I swear to God, I thought, I was like, is this an old video? Did I watch this video and I've just been regurgitating this information? He did a video this week, and I swear to God, he said certain things in that video that I literally, some of them things I thought, I said that. And so I was just nodding my head the whole time. And I thought it was great. And he was talking about 5th edition, and he was talking about why are there things the way they are in 5th edition? Like, why is there an equipment list with chalk and mirrors? Because the game used to be about dungeon exploring. And now the game is about, 5th edition is maybe kind of sort of about nothing. Because when you're about something, that means that some people are going to like you and some people are going to dislike you. And one of the things I learned when I worked at Progressive Insurance Company for a very, very long time, one of the things I worked on was customer service and customer surveys. It's fine if people don't love you, which what you really need to avoid is people disliking you. And when you make a game and you take a stance, it can cause people to dislike you. Anyways, my point is, 5th edition, in some cases, suffers because it's not really trying to be anything. The combat rules are there, but they're not that great. The skill rules are there, and they're not that great. But what is the game for? Now, Pathfinder 2 is D20, and its DNA is very, very similar. If 5th edition D&D is the 800-pound gorilla in the room, Pathfinder 2 is like a chimpanzee or an orangutan. Okay, it's still a primate. It's still very close genetically, but it is a more specific game, in my opinion. And what I look at Pathfinder 2, I see a game that is more focused, believe it or not, on combat. It is a game that has a lot more rules. You don't write rules for something that isn't going to come up. There's a lot more rules about combat. There's a lot more interaction points of your character through feats, through magical items, with the combat system, okay? These are where Pathfinder 2 has really decided to put a lot of its focus. But we understand that these other elements of the game exist. And when I say combat, it's sort of combat in the framework of heroic adventuring. You are a group of heroes, ostensibly, who are going out and doing dangerous things to accomplish big, damn scary goals. And there's usually violence involved because there are people in the way who cannot be dissuaded from their evil course. Right? That's like the basic, I just described almost every Pathfinder 2 adventure path that's ever existed. But there are other ways that we can solve issues, and there are other challenges that will come up even in one of these very combat-focused games. But the game doesn't want you to just spend 2 hours trying to talk to the captain of the Queen's Guard. Look, everybody's sitting around. Everybody has combat powers. The fighter has a good attack roll. The rogue has a great sneak attack. The cleric has healing font, divine font, and whatever else that the cleric gets. The sorcerer has fireball and chain lightning and all these other fun spells. Everybody's kind of like, combat's kind of where we all get to do something. Okay, but we have to talk to the Queen Guard before we can get back to the combat. Okay, great. Here are a set of rules and mechanics that will allow you, not your player, but allow your PC, the same way that I built my character to have a really great attack roll or a really powerful combination with my hunt prey so that I could really take down those foes in combat. My character has a very strong ability to, dismantle people socially. And the game says, great, let's take care of that and get back to it. Let's get back to the adventuring. Let's get back to the dungeon. Let's get back to the ruined tower. Let's get back to the map, the grid, the combat. And so the game boils all that stuff down to just 1 or 2 or 3 D20 rolls with very little mechanical dials or knobs or levers. Contrast this, by the way, with a game like Legend of the Five Rings, which has 3 main encounter types. These are your round by round, initiative by initiative. One of them is a skirmish, and the other one's called an intrigue. That game has a completely, like, if you were doing that in Pathfinder 2, or sorry, in Legend of the Five Rings, that might be like an hour or 90 minutes. And it would be you going around the table, and it would be your characters using your abilities and triggering your techniques and rolling dice and trying to, find out something about this character and then manipulate them and give them a condition so that you can score influence points on their character so that you can manipulate them over your, right? It's a very complicated thing. But that's what Legend of the Five Rings is kind of about. In fact, Imperial Court is just as important as the battlefield in that game. That's not usually true in your generic D20 fantasy heroic adventure simulator game. And that's why these rules exist, to just get us over it, get back to what we want to do. Now, some people have a problem with that. This is where people say, but I want to role play. Okay, so then you just want to ignore all those rules elements, which is fine, but understand that, that would be like a fighter, someone choosing to be a fighter or a barbarian because they really want to be good at combat. And then when a combat breaks out, the GM just says, okay, guys, let's just talk about it. Like, what does your character do? And you say, and like the bard says, I'm really awesome. And I like flip over and I like stab a guy and it's like really cool. I got my rapier. And the GM's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, guys, that was awesome. We talked about it. We don't need to roll dice. They're dead. You guys won. That is how some people feel when we, fluffy bullshit time or when we act out a social encounter because we say, what about the game? What about the mechanics? What about the elements? What about my PC? What about all these rules? What about the investments that I made in some of these options? Don't those matter? Shouldn't they matter? And you might say, no, I don't think they should matter. Well, then, but they're in the game. I mean, it's fine if we're just going to literally throw out that half of the game, but then why am I even picking skill feats? And why am I even just, maybe I'm sitting there going, oh, should I be expert in this skill or should I be master in that skill? Like, why are we even doing that? So that's the problem with these classes. It's just that, people see the rules of the game and then they kind of ignore them. And then they wonder why these things don't feel like they're important or matter. Well, they would matter a lot more if you couldn't just bullshit your way through it by, talking in character. And I think that's kind of the problem, ultimately. I know that was a very long diatribe, but, I think it's important to note that, when you read this archetype is showing you, it's telling you very, very clearly, this is how Pathfinder 2, the game designers, the writers, expect you to play. They expect something like distracting flattery. Now, obviously distracting flattery not going to be useful in combat. They understand that. That's fine. I'm okay with that not being in that. But they're saying that, like, look, if we're in a situation and your character makes a faux pas, it's not about you, the player, saying, let me cover that up by making up something up about the queen's niece. No. It's about triggering your distracting flattery reaction. The same way that if you're in combat and someone's attacking your rogue, you don't describe how your character flips out of the way. No, you point to your character sheet, you show them that you chose and you took nimble dodge, and that will give you, as a reaction, a +2 bonus to your AC. So. Here comes Vin. I don't like having no rolling in my FBT. In fact, I ask for rolls quite often, but I usually give big benefits if they have a specific applicable feat. Ben, not Ben A, but Ben says 2 expert skills is pretty nice though. Yeah, look, I gave it an A. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. And again, I just want to point this out. I usually give rolls if you have a specific applicable feat. Hashtag middle ground. Minandrea says same. All I ask you is, would you do the same for a monk and a stance? Would you do the same for a barbarian who didn't have power attack? Would you do the same for a fighter who didn't have dual slice? Would you do the same for a rogue who maybe wanted to inflict a debilitating strike but didn't have that debilitating strike? You know, if the answer is yes, and, you know, Vin, it might be, then that's fine, I guess. You know, but your game is becoming less of a game. Your game is becoming more of a, I don't know. Right, games are, to be fair, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but remember that games are defined by their rules, and we either follow them or we don't. I have all, you know, if you join the Patreon Discord and you check a look at my profile on our Discord says, rule 0 is never an excuse for the GM to cheat. And that is basically how I feel. All right, we got a couple adventurers here chatting. Henry says checks, social or otherwise, are for when the GM isn't sure of the outcome. So the choices in the conversation may provide a modifier to the check, but probably won't determine its outcome. And I think that's fine. And I think that's something that Pathfinder 2 has gotten away from. Even in Pathfinder 1, which is a derivative of 3rd edition, they had what was called the GM's best friend. I don't know if you guys remember this. The DM's best friend, what it was called in 3rd edition, but in Pathfinder 1, it was called the GM's best friend. And it was, if the character, the player, the actor, the person who is doing the role, is particularly well-suited or well-situated for this task, give them a +2 bonus. If they are at a disadvantage, give them a -2. Vice versa, if the thing that they are trying to do seems harder or more difficult, give the DC a +2 bonus, whereas if the task seems particularly easy, give it a -2 DC bonus. So getting back to the example of trying to, you know, sort of make a great impression upon the captain of the Queen's Guard, when the fighter starts talking about his experience fighting the battles on the borderlands against the kingdom of, Embry, and knowing that the captain of the King's Guard fought in that war and they can share war stories, I say, that's great, that's awesome. You're going to get a +2 bonus to your roll because you are playing the game. And you should be able to influence the mechanics of the game because of the way that you are playing it. The same way that when you're playing a tactical combat game and your character moves to the flank, we don't reward you with an auto hit or an auto crit. No, we reward you with this creature is now easier to hit. It's flat-footed, -2. That is how we reward you for not just going strike, 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 right? You're saying, I'm interacting, I'm engaging, I'm actually playing the game at a certain point. I'm moving the pieces around, I'm trying to take actions, I'm being a participant. Well, it's the same thing true in a social or an investigative or an exploration type encounter, where if your character, you as a player, are engaging with the game in a meaningful way, then the mechanics of the game should be set up as such to reward you from a probabilistic standpoint. Anyways, right, but if you give a +2 in Pathfinder 2, you break everything. If anything, I think that's even better. I think that's even cooler. A +2 in this economy? Now, so Don Pokey went to the CRB, and this is where, Pathfinder 2 is horrible. There is some advice in the GMG, which directly counteracts its own advice in, like, the CRB. A great example of this is lying to your players on a critically failed recall knowledge check. The rules in the CRB talk about how if you critically fail, you should give the characters false information. If you go and read the GMG, there is a section called false information, and it basically says, don't do this. If you're going to give false information to your players, make sure it's not important or not consequential. Make sure it's something kind of silly that they'll figure out immediately, because you don't want to actually give them misleading information that might cause them to, like, make major decisions that are incorrect. And so you're like, okay, so which is it? And so a lot of times the advance, what the book says to do is very different from what the rules say to do. And this is a huge criticism I have of Pathfinder 2. Huge criticism. It's not necessarily a criticism of the system, right? It's the way that the system is presented. It's this auxiliary rules text. It's this implication. It's this game, which if you go to the GMG, it's this game which has told us that they did this intense math, that they want to make every character choice matter, that they want to have these feats matter, that these spells matter, and the math of the game really, really matters, and that the characters should be earning these bonuses and earning their victories. And then you go to the GMG, and there's a section that basically says, well, but if the fight isn't going well for the players, you can just kind of fudge it. Or, well, but if the fight is going kind of well for the players, and you really want this fight to be really cool and powerful, feel free to just, make the creature elite and give it some more hit points. And you're like, so then why are my players trying so hard to make good characters and make good decisions if in the end of the day, the book, this GMG, this nonsense advice is just telling me, just go with what's cool? I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Yeah. So anyways, and yes, Min Andreas. That is exactly right. Paizo refused. They took the most ambivalent possible, wishy-washy, flip-floppity, jello mold foundation approach to it as possible. And I hate that. Also agree, Galarian in depth. Listen, I like Jello too, okay? But I don't build things on top of it, all right? All right. I'm hyped. I'm pumped. It makes me want to just I don't know what I want to do with Pathfinder 2. I don't want to throw it away, It's like if you've ever baked something, or whatever, and you're baking like a pie, and you put the ingredients together and you're like, these are good quality ingredients, and you start to make the pie, and you make the crust and you put it in there and and then you realize, oh my God, I ran out of sugar. Shit, the crust is made and I'm making the filling. I got the apples. I've already got them sliced up, but I need more sugar. All right. I need sugar for the filling, but I'm out of sugar. But I don't want to just throw away this whole pie. Like, this is good pie. This is a great crust. I did a great job on that. The filling needs sugar, and I ran out, and the filling's gonna suck. I don't want to just make this pie. I don't want to just make. And so it's like, I don't want to throw it away. But gee, Damien that's how I feel. I'm not mad. I'm like a parent, The teenager comes home. There was a car accident. There was maybe some drinking. They're relieved that their child is safe. Their child wasn't behind the wheel, but they were in the car and they shouldn't have been. And the parent goes, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. But exactly, Vin. But in reality, I am mad and disappointed. That's exactly right. Despite the fact that the math is tight, Henry, that is worth a hero point for working the emoji into the sentence. It's still apparent that 2E is a collaboration of creators with some different ideas, that try to compromise or sometimes hedge each other's contributions. I agree. I think you said earlier, too many cooks in the kitchen. I agree very much. Pathfinder, in my opinion, again, I've talked about this before, is an A level, A- level idea of a game, but the implementation of it is like a C or a C-. And I think part of that is because, in my opinion, they may have had some brilliant designers. I've had the opportunity, you guys know this, to work and talk with Mark. Guy is crazy smart. He went, we talked about what schools we all went to, and Mark went to a school that I dreamed about going to. Mark went to MIT. Mark is a brilliant, just a brilliant man. But I feel like the Pathfinder 2 project was probably put into the hands of too many people, and there wasn't enough oversight. There wasn't enough like editing and design at the top. You know, you need that leadership. You know, you can put together a really smart group of developers and you know, QA folks and whatever. But if you don't have a vision, if you don't have someone at the top who can guide and lead the ship, you know, every ship needs a captain. And I think that Pathfinder 2 did not have good leadership at the top. You know, anyways, and I think there was a lot of pulling in different directions as a result. And that's why you see some of this internal strain and stress within the game system. All right, let's talk about Demolitionist. We're not going to get to E, but we only have 5 Ds, so we can do these. We can do these in 30. We can do these in 30 minutes, people. I believe. I believe in you. I believe in me. I believe in we. Let's meet the Demolitionist. This is from our Guns and Gears, and yeah. You know how to set explosives to cause maximum damage. You become trained in engineering lore. You get the set explosives action. For 2 actions, you have 1 or 2 bombs in hand. Effect: you attach the bombs to an inanimate object within your reach, such as a door, a wall, a column, or rig, and detonate them to detonate at the same time. The bombs explode at a specific time you determine, such as after your next action or at the start of your next turn, up to a minute, maximum of 1 minute, dealing their damage and splash damage to the inanimate object. Combine this for purposes of weaknesses. I want to point out that this is perhaps one of the most 4th edition looking power of all times. Note, it does not even describe how we are attaching these bombs. What are we using for a timer or a fuse or anything? It's just telling us that this is the effect. And furthermore, why do I need this power to do this? Right? And the answer is, of course, because if I have my rules right, and you guys will tell me if I don't, something like a bomb doesn't actually do damage to objects, right? If I throw an acid flask at a creature, it damages the creature, it splash damages the creatures adjacent to that creature, but it doesn't melt the lock, it doesn't dissolve the floor, it doesn't break down the table that it was next to, right? You need to have this ability, or there's an alchemist feat, I think it's a level 4 alchemist feat called Demolition Charge, that allows your bombs to overcome, right? And that's the problem, that these feats blow up any sense of simulationism. Hey, El Duderino, my friend. That is amazing. Thank you so much. El Duderino just attacked with a massive $50 super chat. Always glad when he can catch the stream. Keep it up nice. El Duderino.
I am strong.
You are strong, my friend. Thank you very much. That is awesome. Welcome to the hype, boss. That is very generous super chat. Very, very much appreciated. And we're glad that you are here and able to join us tonight. Thank you very much. Awesome. Fantastic. I love the name too. Duderino. Self-confessing says, yes, this is the exact kind of dedication I would never tell my players to take because I would just allow this without it. Yes, activating a bomb normally requires a strike action with a thrown weapon attack targeting a creature. Meaning, per the rules of the game, if I had an alchemist and I had a bunch of infusions and I created, 20 bombs and I said, okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go full like Guy Fawkes, V for Vendetta on this. We are going to sneak into the castle, right? We're going to use our fake credentials that we got from that other archetype that we talked about last time. And we're going to sneak in to the basement, and then we're going to find the support pillars. And we're going to line the support pillars with these bombs, okay? Then we'll set a fuse, we'll get out of there, they'll blow up, the castle will collapse, and the tyranny of the evil queen will be overthrown. That doesn't work, technically. Unless you have demolition dedication, And then you can do it with 2 bombs. GM Scott says, of course you can't do that. You can't pick a lock with acid. That's ridiculous. You pick it with a gun. But only if you have that feat, GM Scott. If you don't have the feat, if I shoot a gun, I can't shoot a gun at my lock unless I have the feat, because otherwise it's targeting an object. It's very confusing. There, AK corrected me. Thank you, AK. Yeah, I could be I'm surrounded with acid flasks. I fall 20 feet. They don't shatter. So again, this is a very D20 games, well, not all. This can only target a creature, despite that making no sense. Name a more classic combo. You've nailed it. If there was like a defining game mechanic, it is definitely that. And to be clear, this is a very 4th edition-y type thing. I still wish we could have made that like into a comic or a comic or a skit, because I just think that's hilarious. This is the number one kind of rule I overrule. I agree. I just, maybe I prefer to play games where this wouldn't be an issue, but I'll move on. Oh, hey, here's Demolition Charge. What we were talking about before. Alchemists get this. They get it too. Same idea, basically, by the way. The difference is you get a reaction called Fire in the Hole, so you can basically like make like a mini trap. But again, there's no description here about what this fuse even is or how you're setting it off. And by the way, you can it takes 1 minute. By the way, you can only trigger it within 30 feet. Why? Am I psychically triggering the bomb? Am I using some sort of fuse? If I'm using some sort of fuse, why can't I be more than 30 feet away from this thing before, the demolition charge goes off? I hate this. I hate this feat with every ounce of my being. You get calculated splash. You know how to make a memorable entrances by detonating a bomb. Of course, you set explosives on a door, a window, a gate, and then when it blows up, you try to force open the target. Not blow up the door, not deal damage to it, and then break it down. No, you force it open like you were making a strength check. And you're using your engineering lore instead of your strength or your athletics check in order to do a force open. By the way, by definition, look at this. By definition, you're not doing damage to it. You're just breaking it open. I mean, all right. There's so many things here. All right. All right. All right. Well, guess what? This is my channel. Do what I want. You can bite me, Reddit. I don't care. Gets an F for me. This is everything that's wrong with Pathfinder. Here's the thing. If I'm playing a game like Pathfinder, like 4th edition, this is fine because that's what I expect. That's what I signed up for. This is not that. Pathfinder 2 is not 4th edition. It is not a board game. Archetypes like this should not exist. Full stop. I'm simply saying that in 4th edition, the game balance was more important to them than the simulation of reality, and that the game was effects-based first, not fiction-first gaming. In fact, I argue that if you think that the fiction should come first, then you will like Powered by the Apocalypse games. If you think that the effects, the game mechanics should come first, and then the fiction should follow from that, then you probably would like 4th edition. All right. Dragon Disciple. Again, I just want to say real quick. By the way, Vin, I would never try to sell you on any game, period, because at this point it's just nonsense. You play like one game and you say, I don't play any other games, and then when you play that one game, you change 98% of the rules of it anyways, and it's just nonsense. I just want to say real quick, thank you to everybody who's been hanging out with us tonight, that's watching VOD. Thank you for your tips, your super chats. They've been awesome. They've been amazing. Thank you for the great questions, the amazing feedback. I love these conversations. Our live streams are so fun for me because this is a great way to get to know you and hang out with you and talk with you. And that is why, ultimately, I love the Knights of Last Call Patreon, because I love the community we've built, and I love being able to have these conversations all day, every day. I was doing some math the other day. I figure I probably spend about 30 to 50 hours a week on our Discord. But it's just because the conversations are so good. I love role-playing games. People think I hate this stuff. I promise you I love it more than you. I promise you. This is my whole life. It's been my whole life for 30 years. And this is all I think about. So, anyways. Thank you for being part of the conversation. Thank you for allowing me to have this platform. Thank you for listening. Thank you for disagreeing politely. But that's okay. You don't have to agree with everything I say. In fact, it's better if you don't, because you have your unique experiences, and I want to learn from you, except for Vin. Okay. Dragon Disciple. Bob was this in one of our campaigns. It was really disappointing. You choose to study and worship a dragon. You have to be a kobold or a dragon instinct barbarian or a draconic bloodline sorcerer. And Bob was a draconic bloodline sorcerer. So, okay. You pick a dragon. You get a +1 circumstance bonus against sleep and paralyze effects. Cool. You gain resistance equal to half your level against one type of the damage chosen. This is one of those things where it's like, oh, that's cool, but you can just get a really cheap magic item that does way better than this. So there's that. It's okay though. Claws of the Dragon. You get Dragon Claws, which probably not great. There might be some melee build that can benefit from them. Maybe the Dragon Instinct Barbarian, but I think they already get some sort of claw attack. So I don't really know how useful that is. D6 slashing, if you're Draconic, if you're Sorcerer, though, they go from D4 to D6. So there's that. Not really impressive there. You get Imprecise Sense. That's pretty decent. Imprecise Sense I think is actually a underutilized feature and ability. I think it's pretty useful. It's a good detection ability. Much more of a draconic thing. You add the granted spells to your spell list. You must still learn them. So you get to add... you have to add them to your repertoire. So you don't get them. But you get Shield, True Strike, Resist Energy, Haste, Spell Immunity, Chromatic Wall. So these are the Sorcerer Draconic Bloodline spells. Useful if you're, not Sorcerer. If you want access to great spells like Haste and True Strike and True Strike. Scales of the Dragon. Probably not good. In fact, reading this already seems like it's bad. And your resistance goes up by 3 points. Breath of the Dragon. You get a focus pool, and you get the Dragon Breath Sorcerer spell, which is going to do 5d6 damage when you are level 5. So that is okay. It's okay. It's not great. It's really not great. Cloud Walk. Okay, we're level 10. We are a Dragon Disciple. Our spells, now we can airwalk once per hour. We're not really flying, but we're airwalking. And apparently this is only from Strength of Thousands. All right, finally, at level 12, we get wings, but we can only manifest them. By the way, Fly is a level 4 spell. It is only one less than Fireball, Menendreas. Yes, that is true. However, it is also not a 500-foot range, 20-foot burst. Okay? It's a 10-foot burst within 30. I'm not arguing that this is bad. I'm just arguing that you probably have better things that you could do with your actions in a combat because of action economy. I can honestly tell you that Bob had this, and he never used it until he was very upset that he never used it. And then he finally used it, and he was so disappointed in it, he was like, oh, okay, that's why I never used it. Finally, you get flight wings, but it's not permanent wings. It's only spell wings, and they last for a minute. And it's, whatever. And then, finally, at 14, you can cast Shape of the Dragon, which is a dragon form, but it's a battle form, and so that's horrible. Now you can't cast spells, and you're kind of shitty. I mean, I suppose if you were like a kobold fighter and you could turn into a dragon, that might be pretty okay. All right. Finally, you get this at 16. It doesn't use your focus point, but that was never the problem with the Dragon Breath. You can use Dragon Shape once per hour instead of once per day. And finally, at level 18, your dragon wings are now a part of your body. The game is about to end. People have been flying since level 7. Everybody else in the party has winged boots or winged runes on their armor. They've been flying for levels and levels and levels. But finally, the person, the lady who wanted to be a dragon, because that's what dragons do, finally, at 18, they get wings. Oh, we got a super chat from John. John dropping $20. Hey, John, glad to see you. These rules seem awfully crunchy for Fate. John, it's a great point. I wanna give you guys a shout out, spoiler. John, who is a hero tier patron for Night's Last Call, which is great. We've got plenty of, we got a lot of heroes. But John actually recently sent us on his own dime 2 copies of books to give away as a prize, as a gift to the community. And John's a big Fate fan. I've run several Fate games, and so we're going to be doing, at some point here, in the next, couple of weeks, we're going to be doing a big Fate stream. We're going to talk about Fate. We're going to talk about the game. John, maybe that's something you can be a part of if you're interested. And we're going to be giving away some Fate product for people who tune in. So that'll be pretty cool. It'll be pretty fun. So good to see you. Thank you, John. All right. Well, I'm going to go to, so to me, Dragon Disciple is very much a mechanical thing, I think. And I'm not going to say what I think. I'm just going to let you all give your votes. How about that? And we'll see. We'll see where we end up. I think we can all agree it's not S tier, it's not F tier. Now, is there flavor to this? Here's the thing. I will say this. I think this is predominantly a mechanics-based class, but it's got fun flavor. I'll give it a B for flavor. I think it's crazy that we have to wait, for that. But to me, this is more of a mechanics. Kobolds, because sorcerers get the same feats, barbarians too, and kobolds as well, and that's what you have to be in order to take this. It's true. Although if you're playing free archetype AK, then at least you can take this stuff with your free bonus feats and then use your class feats to actually take sorcerer and barbarian feats. So there is that. I'm just trying to say something about it. All right, we're all over the place here. Votes are still coming in. It's tending to trend lower. Yeah, the requirements on this make this a lot worse than it already is. You would think that the characters that wanted to be Dragon Disciple would be people who otherwise don't have an access to Dragon Disciple. Chat being overly generous as normal. Yeah, chat tends to be more generous than I would be. But we are tied at C and D. And I got to be honest with you. That's close enough for me. I'm going to make the call. I think Dragon Disciple's a D. I find this class to be underwhelming, underperforming, underpowered. I agree that I put it at B for flavor. If you want to be the dragon guy and feel like the dragon guy, it does that. You know, you get the breath, you get the claws. You know, they suck, but you get them. So there's that. Apparently, Derek is sometimes not wrong. Okay. No, I saw this. I mean, Bob was this in our games, and he was like constantly like, oh, cool, Dragon Claws. Wait, I already had that. Also, that hasn't been useful since level 1 or 2. I've never cast it again because I'm a sorcerer. I just get destroyed. And then he's like, oh, cool, I got Breath Weapon. And he's like, this is sweet. It's focus power. And I'm like, okay, yeah. But he's like, yeah, all my spells are way better. And I've got a ton of slots. And it's just not even a problem. Why would I use 2 actions to do this? I mean, maybe if we'd been adventuring for 7 encounters and I was completely tapped out of all my slots, I would start using this. And then, he's like, oh, I got flight. He's like, oh, it's not real flight. It's just flight for a minute. He's like, your boots of flying are better than this. And then finally, like the end of the game, he's like, cool, I got flying. But it just hadn't mattered for levels and levels and levels. I agree with Don Pokey 100%. All of these mechanics like breath, weapon, flight, none of this stuff ever. A lot of times it just goes, yeah, I'll just get a magic item that does the same thing. For sure. So, yeah. All right. Drow shootist. Well, I don't want to like shortchange something here, but you have to be trained in the hand crossbow. Okay. You can interact and draw and shoot, but you can only do it once a round. Or you interact and shoot and stow it. And then you can get access to repeating crossbows. And then you can reload your crossbow. What does this have to do with being a drow? And then you get poison. And then you get skirmish strike. You can move, step and strike, or strike, then step, and in one action. This seems fine. I don't think this is anything particularly great. This is, by the way, this is not a flavorful thing. Like, you can be, yeah, Shadram, you can be a drow shootist without being a drow, but you can't be a dragon disciple without being a dragon. But the other thing is, too, is like, this isn't a flavor thing. You could just be a drow archer without this archetype. This is a mechanical thing. This is not a thing. And you know what this does? It gives you a couple of ranger feats and maybe a couple rogue feats in your archetype. That's really what it does. And you're paying the price of a very pretty meh dedication. I don't think this is fine. There are no playable drow race in the game. Well, that's okay, because you don't need to be a drow to be a drow shootist. You only need to be trained in hand crossbow. C is generous. Well, no. I mean, if you're using a crossbow and you want mechanics to support you using a hand crossbow, then getting this reloading tricks and getting this running reload and getting this skirmish strike, these are all fine things. So they all work. They all play. It's not even close to a flavor thing. There's nothing about this that is anything even remotely flavorful to a drow or any of that. That's a big failure. This is, again, a mechanical thing. I don't think it's great. I just think it works. All right. A archetype I am very familiar with because my character, my fighter, my meme build, human fighter raised by gnomes, dual slice, flick mace wielder, paladin archetype, sorcerer archetype, dual weapon warrior archetype fighter from the Dark of Winter had dual weapon warrior. The dedication is great. You get the double slice feat. Okay, that's awesome. That's already probably one of the best dedication. I mean, double slice is one of the best feats in the game. So getting that as a free feat is awesome. You can get dual thrower, but you'll probably never take that, so ignore it. Same with dual weapon reload. Instead, when I believe when I took this, I didn't take dual weapon warrior till later so that I could skip some of these lower level feats. You take twin parry, it's fine. Flensing strike. This is a fantastic feat. You make your dual slice. Your map is now -10. And guess what? You can just, if you hit with both of them, which if you're a fighter, you probably will, you take a bunch of persistent bleed damage. Automatically. And they're flat-footed. And their resistances to physical damage of all types drops by 5. What is even going on with this feat? It was like rinse, repeat. The number of times that I had haste, of course, and I would be like, okay, stride, double slice, both hit, flensing slice. Like that was many, many of my turns. Just saying. Or it was, oh, I'm hasted, stride, true strike, double slice. Anyways, dual weapon blitz, not as good, but it's still pretty good. Twin riposte is just a fantastic fight. If someone critically fails to strike against you, you get to riposte against them. Swashbucklers get this, fighters get this, rangers get this. It's a cool feat. It's not the best one. Dual onslaught is also pretty great. Once you have dual onslaught and flensing strike, your character is just entirely ridiculous. If you miss, you still do damage. You get a better improved twin riposte, and then you get 2-weapon flurry, which is even now, okay, so now you, for one action, you can attack twice. You're basically getting the high-level version of fighter or ranger ability to basically make 2 attacks with 1 action. And then finally, you get the twin defense from the fighter, which is a stance, and you're always twin parrying, so you basically always have a shield up, and that means you can always riposte. Stop chewing your bones. My dogs. This is an A tier. It's an A tier. It's not S. It's too specific for S. Like, you will see sorcerers that are champions. You will see druids, that are beastmasters. You're like, wait, couldn't a druid just take one? You're like, yeah, no, beastmaster's just better. I'll take other things. Like, champion and beastmaster are things that just like everybody ends up. Dual weapon warrior is just the archetype for I want to hyper specialize on dual wielding, and that's it. This is a mechanic, a flavorfully dead class. This is all about mechanics, and I don't think it's an S. I think it's just an extremely solid A+, and it's just really good. It feels like an S because some of the other ones are so bad. All right, Duelist. Don't we have Swashbuckler? Isn't that what this is? All right. We got, this is our last one, people. This is our last one. How is Duelist different to Aldori Duelist? That's a great question. Now, Aldori Duelist came out in the APG, but the Aldori Duelist came out earlier, I believe, in the World Guide. So the Aldori Duelist actually came out first. Oh my God, there's so many. So we get acrobatics, athletic, and we get Aldori dueling swords with the dedication. Okay, they're a little different here. All right, so the Duelist dedication gives you quick draw. That's cool. You have to be trained in light armor and simple weapons. Easy enough. Hey, I'm a rogue. I'm a duelist. I get quick draw. Oh, hey, guess what? That's awesome. Great dedication. Quick draw is fantastic. Great dedication. Otherwise restricted to the art to the ranger. Fantastic. You get dueling parry from the fighter. So same thing. If you're wielding one-handed weapon, you get basically your sword is now a shield. You got to take an action to raise a shield. Awesome, cool, great way to circumvent the rules there. You get duelist challenge, unique to the duelist. You kind of taunt them. Anytime you hit that enemy using a single weapon, you gain a circumstance bonus to the strike's damage equal to the number of weapons. So it's kind of like a stratagem strike. Rogues get quick draw too. Thank you, AK. If you attack a creature other than your dueling opponent, you get a penalty. One action to gain 2 or 3 or 4 points of damage. Sorry, it just doesn't do it for me. I don't like rage, people. I think rage is bad. And barbarians do get a really nice damage bonus. We're talking like 6 and 12 and like 16 or something if you're a fury or a giant instinct. Doing this for 2 or 3 damage, and that's like later in the game. So at like low levels, it's 1 or 2 damage. Nah, I'm down on that. Disarming stance. So it's a stance for 1 action. You adopt a stance and you get a +1 bonus to disarm. This is terrible. Yeah, so let's be clear. Duelist dedication, A. That's a great feat. Dueling parry. I think this is fine too. I think dueling parry is great. You don't have a shield, but you kind of get the benefit of a shield. Not A, but it is a solid, B minus. Duelist challenge, bad. F. Disarming stance, disarm is garbage. F. Selfless parry. You protect those near you with a flash of shields. While you're benefiting from the dueling parry, allies adjacent to you also gain +1 circumstance bonus to AC. So it's a little bit of a shield bonus to allies adjacent. If you have dueling riposte, which comes up next level, you can use it against an enemy within your critically reach, fails to critically strike against an adjacent ally, not just yourself. So a little bit of a kind of an aura there, a protective aura. So I take 1 action, I raise my dueling parry, I get +2 to my AC. My allies around me get +1 circumstance bonus to their ACs, and potentially also I can set up the dueling riposte to protect everybody. I don't mind that. That seems pretty okay. It makes that action to raise my parry a little bit better. Dueling riposte. Same thing we've seen a million times. If somebody critically fails a strike against you, you make a melee strike against this to strike or disarm them. I do want to point out that riposte is never as good as you think it is. The reason why riposte is never as good as you think it is because the creatures that are going to critically fail strikes against you are going to be much lower level than you. And that means that they're not really a threat to you anyways. And so while you may feel cool fighting a creature that is, say, 2 levels below you or 3 levels below you, and they critically miss you, and then you get to riposte them and strike them as a reaction, it's cool. I mean, you'll feel awesome, but it doesn't really do anything mechanically. You were going to kill that creature anyways. The creature you really want to be able to riposte against is a creature that is a tougher fight against you, a higher level foe, but they're not going to critically miss you. So that's why these are never as good as you want. I'd also point out that, when it comes up, it's cool, but you don't control it. That's the other thing. You don't control this type of feat. It's totally at the whims of fate, and it's a fairly rare circumstance. This is like, I hate anything in the game that like gives you something like, oh, and on a flat check DC 19 or a flat check DC 18, you get some benefit, and you're like, okay, that is just it's so random. I don't even care. It's just silly. Duelist challenge makes me angry. It makes it sound like it should have a taunt effect, but instead it just punishes the attacker if they change targets, while not really giving them a sizable bonus. That's true, Galarian. Flat check DC 21 stickers coming. I priced them out the other day. Like I said, it's going to cost us about $450 to send a flat check DC 21 sticker to the Patreon. Disarming twist sounds like it's more about disarming. I don't care. And then student of the dueling arts. During your daily preparation, you can swap any number of your Duelist archetype feats for any other Duelist. How many Duelist archetype feats? There's not even that many. This feat's horrible. You're going to take a feat so that you can swap out one of the... there's like 5 feats. Dueling Dance. While you're in this stance, you constantly have the benefit of dueling parry. Okay, so one action to basically raise your shield once. We've seen this in a million other places. And then improve dueling riposte. Okay, you get an extra reaction to use against dueling riposte. But that only comes up if a enemy critically fails. So you're going to have this extra reaction that is probably going to go unused 90+% of the time. And then we have Guiding Riposte. When you use Dueling Riposte, okay, so now we have to have our parry up. The enemy has to critically fail. We have to hit them with the strike. And if all of that happens, then we can force them back 10 feet. That might be the worst feat I've ever seen that might be the worst feat in the game. That's horrible. Yikes. We started off so good. Quick draw. And then fell apart, huh? Does this give access to any class feats? I don't think it does. Well, I mean, you get dueling parry from fighter. You get dueling dance from fighter. I mean, I don't think you're going to go deep on this, right? So this is our last one for the night. Min Andreas nailed it. There's some really cool stuff here early. I like the dedication. I'd take that. I like dueling parry, which is just a fighter feat. I'm just taking it. I like that. So I would take duelist dedication, dueling parry, and then I wouldn't want to take this. And then there's nothing at 6. There's nothing at 6. Ooh. That's bad. There's nothing at 6.
Henry tipped $5. Duelist might suffer from the existence of the swashbuckler class. Swash took a bunch of cool things, so all it had left was disarm mods and fluff.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, they came out in the same book, right? Yeah, they both came out in the APG. This class had potential. This archetype had potential, but it fell apart on me. It really did. Okay, Duelist. And by the way, this is a mechanics class. Clearly, this is not about flavor. This is about being able to mechanically be a duelist in Pathfinder. You know, does it function? Does it work? Is it a B? Is it a C? Is it a D? Is it an F? I don't think it's an A. Not very impressed. Hey, Cheese of Ages is here. Thank you again, by the way, Henry, for that tip. It's awesome. And I agree. You know, this is one of those situations where it's like, if you're publishing this in the book, which has the swashbuckler, and you know you're going to make the swashbuckler archetype to be the swashbuckler class, why do you need the duelist class? And you already published the Aldori dueling class. So not only does it feel like you're making another duelist class, but you just made a new class, which is kind of like a duelist, or could be a duelist. It's this one-handed weapon, free hand, open, you know, kind of class. You have an archetype, multi-class archetype for that. Why do you need duelist? It doesn't make any sense to me. All right, votes are coming in. So we managed to maintain about 40, 45. We had about 50 people tonight. These have been doing really well for us. Thank you for watching the home at YouTube. Glad you're enjoying these very deep dive mechanicals. I know we always end up getting distracted or talking about game design and rule elements. And, well, that's just the night's last call for you. Don't know other way. There's a reason why we don't make 10-minute videos. I apologize. I literally sit down sometimes with my crew or myself to make a short video, and it ends up going an hour and 20. We just don't know how to do it. There's too much to talk about. This is why the Patreon exists. It's why it's so incredible, because it allows us to just talk about this stuff and really work it out. So definitely encourage you to check us out. $3 or $5 a month will get you in at the lowest level, and you can just check it out and see if it's for you. But check us out. Thank you again for everybody who tipped and supported and watched tonight, and let's wrap this up strong. All right, well, votes are in, and it's close to C or D, but D is winning at 55%, and I'm inclined to agree. There's just better classes for this. If you want more flavor, go be an Eldori Duelist, and otherwise, just be a Swashbuckler. I just feel like that's cooler anyways, and better. So, first half B, second half D, so you voted C. All right, I mean, that's fair enough. Duelist is similar to the Eldori Duelist, says Cybersmith, but with the caveat that you don't get the cool weapon. Self-confessed cynic says, how do you like working with a shotgun? Seems easy. Yeah, I mean, it's nice not having the, it's nice not having the mic in my way, in my monitor, in my frame. I don't know how you all feel, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to take, getting used to, because, obviously I've been doing it on the Shure SM7B for so long that to have the MKE 600 up here, it's a little bit of a different feel. I'm sure the sound is a little bit different, but check it out. All right, so we're building out the mechanic. We're painting all over the place. But there's A's and B's that are making their way in there. A's and B's are making their way in there, and I think that's a good thing. And again, some of these flavor aren't probably the best mechanically, but I think they're a lot of fun. The mechanics really sell what the archetype is trying to do, and I love that. I appreciate that. So I think that's really fun. By the way, going into our Conan question for the stream. Conan asked, does free archetype make you more powerful? And Super Chat's won. So no, they beat their goal and they exceeded it. So turns out the answer is no. And you know what? I agree. I think free archetype does not make you more powerful. Now, that being said, if you are a munchkin power gamer car op son of a bitch, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are, then you can use the free archetype system to bump up your character's power. I would never say that you probably gain something like a +1 version of power level. Self-confessed cynic says, what the fuck? Super chats are biased by ease. Free archetype makes you way more powerful. That's not true at all, self-confessed cynic. Normally, we get a lot more tips than we do super chats. So normally tips are what actually far, far outweigh the super chats. So, what is powerful? If you want to debate the philosophy of words with Galarian in depth, either check out his channel, just do a YouTube search for it. Galarian in depth covers way more in-depth things about Galarian than I ever will. But you could also talk to Gid on our Discord. Gid is a hero tier member of our Patreon and been around for quite a while. Definitely a pillar of the community, Gid. Definitely a pillar of the community. All right, well, that I think is that. I don't know, any follow-up or any sort of questions that anybody has? All right. Yes, you do. It's tough, Kid. I know it's tough. E for next time. Gonna guess my favorite archetype will land on a C or B for next live stream. Nathan, number one, there's a lot more archetypes than I really give it credit for. There's just so many archetypes. Look at all these archetypes. It's crazy, right? I feel like there's a lot of front-loaded archetypes, though. Like, I feel like once you get into Well, no, there's a lot of G's. Jeez, there's a lot of G's. Man, just a lot of archetypes. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, these aren't as complicated as going through a full class, but, you know, we're only getting through about 20 a stream. So, you know, that means that it'll probably take us another 5 streams or something like that to get through them. So, I mean, at some point, there's got to be some letters that don't have a lot of stuff, right? Anyways, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Shadram asks, how's the studio coming along? Great question, Shadram. So what we have now is we have a series of fake walls made that will enclose our table playing area. Those walls have openings cut into them so that we can mount windows, and we're going to put some fake window glass behind it with lighting effects. I think it's going to look really cool. The surface of those fake walls is covered in pink XPS insulation foam that Bob and I now need to carve using some hot wire foam cutting tools, some blades, and we're going to carve it to look like, you know, castle, river rock, stone, cobblestone walls, and texture it and paint it. We think we have a good process to go on, but we're going to be working on it this weekend, I actually think is the case. Now, once that gets done, the electronics are all set up. We have the cameras set up. We're testing this microphone to see if this is going to be a good microphone for us, in which case I'll buy several more, and we'll use those. We have I upgraded a computer to function as a streaming PC because it has to be able to handle multiple HDMI inputs from the several cameras. We still have to decide our lighting, but we have a ton of lights up at the studio, different studio lights and stuff that we've used in the past. We just have to set up the studio. The table, of course, is built. We have to put a finish on it and, you know, make it look a little prettier, but the construction's done. So we're I don't know exactly where we're at. This texturing and building the foam part will probably take a little bit of time, but I think we're going to be good. Yeah, I do think it's front loaded. I was just scrolling through there. I think A through L is probably 65% of the dedications of the archetypes. Studio update. Knights of Last Call announced that they are going to be moving into their studio soon. Newspapers all over the world are abuzz. After all, the Knights of Last Call haven't been live in person since 2021, back with Nick and Matt and the days of nightlife. But the Knights of Last Call promise a return to those golden halcyon eras, so stay tuned, listeners. Sending another tip so I don't spend it on OnlyFans instead. Priorities. You know what? Respect, John. Respect. I will take your OnlyFans money. I appreciate it. Man, that's a good deal. It's a good racket. I love it. Derek, OnlyFans when? No. Derek, Gym Channel when? Yes. So, as some of you may know, I am a bit of a fat ass. And I say that without prejudice or judgment on those who are also overweight or obese. But I wasn't. I used to not be. But in my 30s, stress, COVID, my business is failing, health and fitness became less of a priority for me. And after I hiked the Appalachian Trail and came back, over the last 4 or 5 years, you know, I've put on 50 to 60 pounds. And that has not been great for me. So I have really been trying to focus on my health. Some people in my Discord know about this in our Patreon. I bought several $1,000s worth of home gym equipment, so I don't have any excuses. And I want to get that set up. And we're trying to set up. We have a health and fitness channel in our Discord, and we're trying to set up some accountability partners and some fun competitions because we're gamers and that's what we do. And several people said, "Hey, you should make some videos." And I said, "I don't want to flood the Knights of Last Call channel with that garbage. We don't even like to post our shorts to the subscription feed because, you know, if you want to see shorts, that's fine. You can go to the short feed or you can specifically click on them in our channel. But I don't want that shit popping up in your feeds. In fact, when that starts happening, sometimes it happens because YouTube weak click, don't publish it to the feed, but it does anyways. But when channels that I'm subscribed to start doing that and filling their feed with shorts, I usually unsubscribe. Anyways, so they were like, oh, you should just make your own, you should make a separate channel. So, I don't know, I might do it. Just, you know, the process of recording it and talking about it, it really increases, I think, the level of accountability. And that's always been a problem for me. I can do the work. I love the work. But, you know, you got to be committed to it and you got to stay focused. And, you know, to quote Princess Irulan from Dune, you know, a beginning is a very delicate time. And so for me, it's about building up those pattern of good behaviors so that I can continue, you know, even when the time, you know, even when the excuses start coming in and the going gets rough. But if I can do it for, you know, 30, 60, 90 days, then I usually find myself into that routine. I've just got big bones and big other things and mostly big, not much big. John says, I also need to start exercising again, so I'll join you, but the gym seems a bit aggressive. Maybe I'll just start with push-ups. Yeah, I mean, you know, and listen, any exercise is better than no exercise. Ryan says, heck yeah, I'm 1,000 out of 3,000 push-ups done in my November 3,000 challenge. Wow, that's a lot. I'll cover this more on my channel, but I have a veritable library of fitness and health books, and these aren't just pop books. I bought a lot of, you know, physical trainers, exercise kinesiologists, body mechanics, papers, published papers from, you know, exercise scientists. My knowledge of physical sciences in the body sciences is pretty deep, and I have done a wide range of various programs all over the years, including the much famous P90X, which is a lot of body weight work, including a lot of push-ups. And I got to be honest with you, I have done bench pressing for a long time, and I do like it, but my chest, my pecs, my triceps were never as strong or developed as they were as when I was doing P90X and just doing a shitload of push-ups. Various push-ups, you know, diamond push-up, diamond cutter push-ups, marine style push-ups, strict push-ups, dive bombers, the whole shebang. But it was pretty intense. Gamer to gym rat. Now he's jacked and back to gaming. Win and win. Yeah. So we could be lame, right? We could call it athletic check. Athletics check? What? No, maybe something like that. You know. Well, and that's the other thing too. If, you know, look, I have an obligation, you know, to my patrons who support and pay for this channel, and you know, I appreciate that very much, and I try to give back to them as much as I can, and that means doing content. It means being available in our Patreon Discord. It means having conversations with people. It means answering questions when they DM me. It means making these live streams. It means making videos when we can, and just getting content out there. So I feel a certain sense of obligation of what I want to do, but doing a channel that is literally just for me about accountability, there's a certain appeal to that, you know, because I can just literally do whatever I want to do and not worry about it. And I do like that. So let me get this straight. Pathfinder theme, lame, but if it's night related, then that's okay. All right. Fair enough. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll be in the health and fitness channel. If you're a patron, or if you're going to be a patron, go on, sign up, get your role access, get into the health and fitness channel. We'll be talking about it. Right, but that's the problem, Ryan. Playing 50 hours of Rise of the Rune Lords was not helpful in terms of weight gain. There was a lot of drinking and all that other stuff. I think making your efforts public is a great way to keep yourself motivated. Absolutely. I mean, there's you know, my experience with the internet has been, and maybe I'm blessed because I'm old enough. I don't even hear the haters. I don't hear the complainers, the haters, the people in my comments or on Twitter or YouTube or Reddit or people that work at Paizo or whatever who just, you know, don't like what I have to say. That's fine. I mean, that's fine. And it literally just rolls off my back. Spilt milk under the bridge. Just don't even care about it. But all the positivity, I do hear and I do feel it. And so it's like really a win-win. Like I do not legitimately care at all about internet criticism. But when people say, hey, I loved you, your guys' group is so awesome. I love the way you play. It reminds me of me and my group. And it's so fun to watch you guys play. Awesome. Hey, we loved your tips and tricks, and seeing you work with Bob and develop his game mastering skills is incredible. Oh, I can't wait to join Northern Reaches. It's like that stuff. It just gets me. It's just so good. And, I've been very public, even on live streams, about how much money I have put into this channel because of certain, you could argue they're bad decisions. I know there are people out there who start a YouTube channel with, an iPhone or a smartphone, and that's it. And they're just in their room with the light on. And that's obviously not what we did. And we've invested and we continue to invest many, many tens of thousands of dollars into trying to make a better product. And, it's YouTube. And even with Patreon, the money is not always there, and it takes a long time for it to come back up. So, we are in the green, or I should say the black now, but we were in the red for a long time. So, it's nice to be rewarded with the money. But if I was just doing it for the money, we would have gotten out of it a long, long, long time ago. And so really I do it because of the incredible community and getting to talk and, with you all and getting to meet so many people and building certain relationships. And, especially now, me, I'm 40. I just turned 40 last month. And, it's hard to make new friends. It's hard to meet people anymore. And this has been a really great way to do that. And I love it. It's fantastic. It's great times. There's certain things I don't like, but for the most part, I do like it. So anyways, keeping myself motivated. And what better way to do that than with you all? All right. So that, gym night. Well, I don't know, Vin. I'm trying to think here. I still have to build the damn rack. The problem is it's still on a pallet in my garage. My room that's going to be my gym is currently filled with a bunch of other stuff that I've been trying to sell on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. But people suck and they keep saying they're going to buy it, and then they show up and then, or, they never show up and they don't buy it. So I need room. That's what I need. I need room. I don't have room for my gym until I can sell some of this extra crap because, it's a big rack. I mean, it's probably going to take up like a 6 foot by 4 foot space, just the rack itself, maybe 5 foot by 4 foot. And then you need the room around it to work out, So I want to be started, like this isn't like I'm gonna wait till the new year. I want to get started this year, as we move into the holiday season. So, John, the solution is most definitely not a bigger studio. The studio is already plenty big enough, and it's a huge cost. It's a huge money pit. It's what it is. It's a huge cost overhead, and it sucks. Is it the Nightless branded home gym? No, but that's pretty good. Bob was trying to convince me if you buy like the power rack that's like a level higher than what I bought, you can get a frame and you get a aluminum panel and you can get it undecorated, and then you can take it to like a machinist and you can like CNC in your gym's name. Bob's Garage Gym has a name. I think it's kind of silly. But I was like, it'd be kind of cool to put the Knights logo there. Do it up. I don't know. Anyways, we'll come up with something. Point is, we're trying to look. I said a long time ago that, I'm not trying to become, I'm not trying to be better so that I can become perfect. But I do want to perfect getting better. I have no dreams that I'm ever going to reach this state of ultimate perfection. But if there, I do want to, however, really, really nail down this idea of constantly iterating on yourself, constantly working on yourself, challenging yourself, growing, giving yourself opportunities, both physical, mental, and spiritual, to grow. And, that's always been sort of my philosophy in life. And, there's certainly plenty of things in my life that tap into those elements that relate to this channel and to this experience. But it's important that you have, I think, that people become well-rounded, and I certainly experience that. And I think that when you are spiritually, mentally, and physically healthy, that's just always the best possible mindset to be in,
Shadowram tipped $10. I want to be the hype boss. And say thanks for the stream.
Shadram is our new hype boss at the end of the stream. Thank you for your tip and donation. Appreciate it great much. Way to go out as the hype boss. Boothby says, perfection is a road, not a destination, and that is attributed to Kayun. I'm not familiar with that philosopher, but it is a good one. Another one that I always love, that I've always gone by, is a quote from the Buddha, who says that if the first road that you walk is the most difficult, then all future roads will seem easy. It's from Remo Williams. Okay. And I always like that quote too. So, a lot of times I probably do start too hard. I start at the highest level, just because I want to, I want to get it over with. Buy once, cry once is my philosophy with purchasing expensive gear or tools. So it's kind of like my philosophy in life too. I don't ease into things well. I will admit that. You could call it, maybe it's a failing. I don't know. All right, everybody. Had a blast tonight. We got a lot done. There were some good rants in there. Maybe we'll clip something so the people at home can really enjoy that rant. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to start adding chapters to these things so that people can go find the archetypes and discussions about them. So, Pop It stream December. I had a live stream this week with Steven and Mark from Roll for Combat, and I think we're still up in the air about, are they writing it? Is Mark going to write it? Is Mark going to run it? I don't know. I think there's I don't want to overstay my welcome and be like, make this for us. But yeah, well, I don't know how much time we need to make a one-shot Pop It adventure. Okay. John says, my life philosophy is life sucks, then you die. So live it up. Well, John, as someone who may or may not have spent, I don't know, north of, I don't even want to know how much, $50,000, $60,000 in 1 year before at various clubs of ill repute. I get it. Live it up. I'm not trying to say that you need to listen, everything in moderation, especially moderation, right? That's my kind of rule. Sometimes it's good to overindulge. Oh, come on. Listen, when it comes to Poppets, I don't give a shit, man. This is a new leaf for Derek. YOLO. All right. We'll figure it out. All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and your company. Hope you have a wonderful and blessed day or evening or whenever you're watching this. We'll see you next time. We're going to be back next week. More live streams and all that. Keep an eye out. We have a couple of videos coming out soon. They have been recorded. They just need to be edited. And that's a huge pain in the ass. If you start a YouTube channel, just make sure that you...
Henry tipped $25. Turn the new leaf like a good leshy, Derek.
Thank you, Henry, for that. That is incredible. Thank you for your... thank you for the wonderful saying, and then thank you, Vin, for a new leaf as well. You guys are amazing. You guys are awesome. I love you guys, gals, folks, everybody. We've got the whole gamut, and I love it. So definitely take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time on Knights of Last Call.